This conference will now be recorded.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We got public comments? Of course. Okay. We got two. We got two.
You're our elected officials. And it's a privilege that we have as citizens of this country and this state and this county to be able to address our public officials. We appreciate that. This nation was founded 244 years ago on the principles of freedom. I think we all understand that freedom has some responsibilities. Concerning this issue of governments telling us what to wear, I don't agree with that. I don't think the founders had that kind of governmental authority in mind. As a citizen, on the other hand, we each have the responsibility. If we are sick or ailing, we owe it to our fellow citizens to stay home. That becomes personal responsibility. That's freedom. I hope you all keep that in mind when you make decisions about this mask wearing. If folks want to wear a mask, more power to them. If people that are healthy don't, I think that is a decision that is a personal matter. That's just my feeling on it. If we keep acting like sheep and let whatever forces it is that's misinforming us about this pandemic or epidemic or whatever it is, we might as well take our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and tear them up. We'll start down a slippery slope. Personal responsibility, yes, but I don't think this is a government matter. On county level, on state level, or on federal level. So that's my feeling on it. I really don't envy you all being in the position you're in, having to make this decision. But whichever way it goes, for my part, I will support you. I just, you know my feeling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Henry.
If we look out this window, we can see something's been bothering me. We have over $50,000 emergency management vehicle, and the trailer that probably costs that much and more. Not that lightning's gonna strike twice in the same year, but the hailstorm just a couple months ago would have devastated that. We're paying money to have it stored. I don't know why it's sitting out in the open, subject to vandalism, damage. I've asked about it for a couple of weeks, so I guess I'm bringing it public of what it's doing, sitting over there instead of where it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Mike, I would tell you what I heard just lately, that some of the emergency management stuff that has been, and we haven't asked Randy yet to get his opinion of the reason why, but I heard some of the stuff that was provided to us is being stored over there where this trailer is. I just heard that last week, so I don't know if that's the truth or what the deal is, but Randy will tell us whenever I get a chance to talk to Randy.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So still in public comments. Okay. Is there any on the screen?
No.
Okay. Apologize, mine's not up and running, so.
There was just a comment that it was hard to hear with the people that were speaking, and that's because they were not speaking into a microphone. And I turned up the mic over there as far as I could, so.
Well, with that, we'll go on to the COVID update. Is D3 on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. And I too didn't hear the public comments, so if I need to address anything, just let me know. But currently Marion County is at 24 cases with 11 active. And as you've noted, press releases, the information that are contained in those varies. And this is due to HIPAA and not releasing personal identifying information. In the smaller counties, it is much easier to identify individuals through some of that information if that's released. At this time, community spread has not been identified in Marion County. And Tina has put on a graph that we would like to eventually take our case reporting instead of press releases to a graph. And once we procure the graphing program to report these cases, we plan to do so Monday through Friday. And probably we haven't set a time, but maybe around 4 p.m. on those dates, we would be updating it. We would like to have a link to this graph, and that would be posted on the Health Department Facebook and also the county website. If you look, I do see that the date should have been 7/13, but this again is just an example. Because right now we don't have a program. We would have to manually go in and change it all the time at all the websites, but we're trying to look at something that possibly we can just change it, like Marcia can just change it at her desktop, and then it will be the link to the site, and that way it would take a lot less updating. So we're looking into that. I just want to remind the community of contact tracing. We ask individuals to think back 2 days from when they had their last symptom. And if they're asymptomatic, when they received the positive test, then those contacts are identified from that point on. And a contact, keep in mind, is someone within 6 feet for 10 minutes. Now, you've probably heard on the news that CDC has increased that time. However, Kansas has chosen to stay with that 10-minute time frame right now. An individual who is identified through this process will be contacted by the health department and placed in quarantine. Many times this individual has already been contacted by the case himself or herself. But there are times when the individual has not been contacted by the case. And in those circumstances, we ask that the contact individual treat the situation with respect, as we will not be identifying the case individual to them. Contacts will be notified by the health department if they have been identified by the case. If you believe that you have been in contact with the individual, you somehow figure out who the case individual is, we do ask that you self-quarantine, at least limit your movements and wear a mask. If you have the concern that you've been in contact with them, that is the responsible thing to do. You are welcome to contact the health department with questions, and the nurse or the contact tracer can answer those questions. However, we will not identify the case to you. Does anyone have questions regarding that?
So what did you say that kind of tracking was, Deetra?
The contact tracing?
Contact tracing?
Yes.
Okay. What, is that something that we came up here, or is that something that is come down from higher up?
That comes down from higher up. That's actually all over federal. The state does have contact tracers that are possibly available if counties need them. That's something that we are planning to use Sherry as a contact tracer. And what they do is once the nurse identifies the positive case, she identifies who those contacts are, and then the contact tracer can, if she gets overwhelmed, can help with that step, identifying who they have been in contact with, and then also does the monitoring of those contacts that were identified.
So you said you had contact tracing. What kind of equipment do you have, or personnel? How is that going to work?
Well, and that brings me to another point, but Sherry has a laptop or her office computer here. And these people have rights to the state system or EPI system. They don't have full rights as someone who does the investigation, but they can contact the contact and then go through the questionnaire. By the contacts of a case are asked to take their temperature, record daily, and monitor themselves for signs and symptoms. And then if they have any, they contact their healthcare provider.
Have they, just hearing it today, the word that comes to my mind is surveillance. And I'm kind of really concerned about that. How we divide that off. We're tracking people. I have to go back to Henry's prayer this morning. I mean, I just think that just adds another phase of slippery or the slope, how we're surveilling people to find out who they talk to, when they talk to them, etc. and so forth. I don't know, it's just a word that I'm just listening to what you say, and it just kind of concerns me. So the next thing that I want to ask you, oh, I'm sorry, did you want to respond to that?
Well, this is what it is. We call it disease investigation and surveillance. That's what epidemiology is, and that's what we do with any, like a foodborne illness, other respiratory pertussis, measles, and that's how public health keeps the public safe. So.
I don't remember that as I was growing up, but I want to change the subject then to the mask wearing. I was doing in my campaigning this week, talking to a gazillion people. I was wondering, can you explain to me, please, what the mask protocol is in the ER and the operating rooms?
Okay, as far as the ER, during typical times, which we haven't seen since probably last year in the summer, but during certain times, if respiratory problems are around, then like viruses, like right now, I would think that the staff would be wearing masks when they treat clients. If patients come in, most ERs now, that is very facility specific. We don't govern the hospitals. So a lot of hospitals and ERs, when a patient comes in, they require their patient to put a mask on.
Okay, I guess you misunderstood my question. I was asking what the protocol is like in emergency rooms and operating rooms, and I was going with this thing right here. In talking to some RNs and nurses that work in these critical care areas and stuff like that, they have a specific protocol that they do wear those masks, and they wear special masks. But I am told that I'm still investigating this, and I was wanting to get your opinion on it, if this is in fact a fact, but that they are trained to where they do not touch those masks. When they put those masks on their face, I'm told that they just do not touch them. If they do touch them, they have to remove them and get a clean one. Is that true?
That is correct. If you're in the OR, you put a mask on, and it is a different type of mask. You put a mask on, you glove up, you don't touch anything but what you're working on. It's a sterile environment.
That's what
yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
Well, no, I'll make the newspaper if I do.
Yeah.
Already gonna make the newspaper.
I'm sure. I'm sorry, go ahead, Deidre. I do want to get your answer.
Yeah, it is a sterile environment, and that's why those are different types of masks. There's surgical masks, there's procedure masks, and through this, there's face coverings that are cloth masks, and the cloth masks have been shown to reduce some spread. What more studies concentrate on, if I wear a mask, I'm protecting you all. If you wear a mask, you're protecting me. Also, you're right, Diane, you have to use, if you take that mask off and you just fold it up and touch it all over, there is that possibility of the virus, you contaminating your fingertips, or you can, and then if you don't wash your hands real good, you can eat something or touch your mouth or such, or pick your nose, whatever, you could get infected with the virus.
And so, Deidre, where I was going with that is when that was brought to my attention, as I was, wherever I go, it doesn't matter where you go, and people who are wearing masks, they're pulling them up, they're pulling them down, they're adjusting them. They take them off when they're going to talk to you. They put them back on when they're going to, when they're done talking to you. Well, they're becoming very contaminated and filthy, and we're requiring people to wear these and continue to wear them. And I've even talked to some people at Walmart, and they get these masks, and sometimes they have to wear the same mask for 2 days or so. I'm just wondering, I understand what you're saying as far as the masks, but if we're improperly informing people, and if people don't know all these facts, what good are we doing? And then I also have to question, what kind of scientific evidence do you have that wearing these masks improperly is going to do any good at all? How do we know?
And I think that's why KDHE from the beginning has had, and we've had on our website, we posted it several times, how to wear them properly. It's just like with anything. It's like with your car seats. If you don't have your car seat installed properly, it's not going to do good. It's not going to, in a crash, it's not going to protect your child. So I think the responsible thing is to know how to use the masks. It's much like people who are wearing those gloves out when they're shopping. I see people with gloves, yet they're touching everything. They're getting in their car, they're touching the steering wheel. Then they take the gloves off, touch the steering wheel with their bare hands. It has to be, like you said, it does have to be used properly. It's like with, with anything, there are, so to speak, instructions that come with it.
And I have just one final question for you. I haven't seen this yet, but I do have some feelers out. I'd like to see a box a box where these masks come in, because I'm told that they have a disclaimer on them that says that they do not protect you from viruses, and some of them even say that they do not protect you from COVID-19. Have you seen that?
I think a lot of like the masks that we get, it says most things say it's not 100% effective. Because in the medical field, there's probably nothing that's 100% guaranteed. I think with masks, we just have to understand that if it can reduce some in public health, public health is not designed to save everybody. It's designed to be population health. We are trying to figure out what is the best, and until we know a lot more about the virus, we are trying to figure out what is the best to prevent the most, prevent the large group from
The spread.
yes,
That's what
and
you're trying to say.
requiring hospitalization or death ultimately.
How many deaths have we had?
We've had one death.
One death. Okay, so the rest
Yes.
is kind of just like a flu, and they recovered.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Some though have struggled, and it has been more extensive.
Deidre, you probably can't answer this, but has anybody needed their remdesivir to pull through?
I have not heard of anyone that from our county.
Okay. I know there's limited doses, so I just wondered if they were being used up.
Yeah, and there's other, more studies are coming out, so and right now you are right, there is a limited, the state has some cash occasionally of that, and that seems to go to like the ICUs, and that's going to the bigger hospitals.
Okay. Thank you. Dave?
Deidre, this is Dave. On your graph, I like that. Could you add one more column of active cases? Because that gives a true picture. And then the other column might be how many deaths, just to make it a reality that this is actually what is going on. Because you say 24 cases, people think there's 24 active cases. Because they don't read all the information that's available.
Yes, that can be a possibility. The deaths, I think, is kind of a sensitive subject. If that happens to be a family member of you, and until we have numerous deaths, I would like to be sensitive to the fact that it's...
It's an actual fact.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can't worry about feelings nowadays. We need to stop this.
Yeah, to make an educated decision too. I mean, we really need to know the infection positives versus negatives, and what that percentage is and what that trend is. So if we have higher testing and we have a lot more negatives and a lot more positives, then our percentage isn't really changing. So we need to know that information in order to make an honest decision on things.
So would it be possible, I mean, I am gonna ask to hire, right now our nurse is PRN. Our nurse is part-time. She typically works Wednesday, Thursday. She's having to obviously she's put in extra hours. At some point she'll want to take a vacation, so I would like to hire some PRN nurses that could potentially work some weekends just to, it wouldn't be necessarily an 8 to 5, it would be to check our epi tracks and to, if we have positives, to work that. So I would like to advertise. I'm working on a job description. I have it almost complete that I'll get to Ashley. So what are your thoughts on that? And with a wage at $20 to $25 an hour, and then I would like to bring our current nurse up to 26 because she'll have been here 2 years in August.
What's your budget look like, Deidre?
Well, we've had some, these PRN nurses, those would be covered under the COVID. Over that, the CARES Act,
Okay.
the new Sparks funding, and these would be hired, it would be temporary throughout this COVID season, you might call it.
Okay, I just
And
wanted to make sure where the money's coming from, and I don't know, when is COVID supposed to, we don't know, I mean, we don't know when the government will cut the money off, is what I'm getting at.
Well, it's the money that's available has to be spent by the end of the year, so we can't make anything past the end of the year as it relates to COVID. As far as
Okay.
right, and most places are hiring their PRN nurses, most health departments through December.
Somebody else
So it must not be, the humming must be that.
caller number one.
You said it was still humming. Yeah.
Well, you know,
Now,
as long as there's a valid
No.
reasoning and what's going on, I'm gonna jump back here a little bit and for the update instead of moving into your other stuff, Deidre. If you was called to a department within the Marion County and it involved lots of people, what is your actions require?
what are you
Well, I'm
asking?
just hearing.
Infant?
I'm just hearing. I really don't know whether we've got an actual case within our jail system or not. I've heard that. I've been texted that we did have one. But what is your actions there when it may involve the inmates? May involve we know that there's probably 15 to 20 people that run in and out of that building. And so I'm just wondering what your actions are, and in regards to what Diane's talking about back here, you're doing what you have to do to track to see where it goes, and that's how you do that, and there's no problem with that because that is your set protocol. But I'm wondering what it is when it becomes part of the county system and it may be within the jail.
What we are tasked with, if it happens in a facility, and depending on the type of facility, like correctional facilities, they have the opportunity, if they choose, to test everyone involved, then that is a possibility that can be done through the KDHE lab. We tend to follow the guidelines that are set out on KDHE's website. There's a special guideline for law enforcement. If it's a state correctional facility, the state will assist with that. The testing then, when they're tested, and if anybody is identified positive, of course they're put in isolation, so the facility would need, and they usually have their plan for how they isolate that positive case.
Okay.
And so anybody discovered, what we do is we work with KDHE, we work with the facility, and then choose what works for them to contain.
I guess,
But of course, following the guidelines of quarantine and isolation.
I guess my real problem was, I'll address it later with commission comments, but I'm just concerned of a cluster. We haven't had that in Marion County, and that is something that, if it's true, that we could have had real easy within our system. So that's why I'm asking you the question about that.
Right, and that is, I mean, there are certain facilities that they will be tested, you know, if, like in your long-term care facilities, if there's a positive, then everybody is tested within that facility who works, the staff and the residents, and then they have protocol in place what to do when they find more positives. And, you know, it's probably not a matter of if that will occur in one of our facilities, it's a matter of when. And I will tell you that we do contact those, we get a list from the facility, and we contact those individuals, and
Right.
they are placed in quarantine.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that in a, like, first responders and medical facilities, if an employee has potentially been exposed, they've worn a mask, they've used precautions, they still can go to work if they're deemed essential.
Okay.
As long as they're asymptomatic and not sick.
Okay.
Deidre, this is Kent. So I guess my concern is then, are we saying if we have a positive in the jail system, is every inmate and every employee getting tested, or have they been tested?
That is up to the facility.
I think that goes back to dividing powers, because the sheriff is an elected
Right.
official and held accountable, so they have to make that call within their facility.
And they make that call based on our, I mean, no one makes that call lightly. There's a lot of communication that goes in with KDHE, with the county health department and the facility.
So then that
There's a
brings-
lot,
I'm sorry.
there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on.
So Deidre, how do you, and I'm just asking this question because I just brought up a question again to me. If you have a healthy person there in a facility like we're discussing, or anything that's comparable to it, how do you mandate somebody that you have to get a test? How do you do that?
Well, we
I mean, can you?
don't,
I guess I want to change that to
we
can you.
can't. I mean, we've run across that situation, and we told them they have the option, if you get tested, say you've been exposed, you develop the symptoms, and you don't get tested, then your quarantine period, we're going to count as probable, and your quarantine period will probably last longer, because you were never tested, but you were exposed, so you're gonna have to quarantine as long as, for sure, until you get well. But if you keep in contact with like that positive case who was a case, you have to wait till that person is well, and then 14 days after that person gets well to stay in quarantine. If you get tested and you're positive, then you're in quarantine for 10 days after the first symptom, as long as you're well, or 72 hours after the fever, whichever's longest, but you have to be well. So there's a lot of time figuring. Not everybody's length of quarantine and isolation is the same.
Brings up one thing for me, because you said staff that's deemed essential, that's asymptomatic, can wear a mask and return to work.
Correct.
If that's
You
the
have
case,
to.
if that's the case and we feel safely enough about that, then why can't we have individuals, rather than being asked to quarantine, wear a mask? And not be, technically a quarantine is to be known to be sick. You know, right now we're presuming that you might get sick and you're having people on house arrest. And it's, if we feel that confident about the masks, that we're allowing essential staff to wear them and continue on, then why can't we feel confident enough that somebody wearing a mask could not actually have to do a quarantine?
Well, okay, so you have a healthcare worker that's deemed essential, and anytime they're exposed, there could be health workers that are exposed. I was just on a call this morning that had an exposure that takes 10. It was a facility outside of our county, so don't get alarmed. But that could potentially take 10 people from the staff. I don't know a facility that could function. We still have to, in the healthcare, they still have to take care of patients. What do? Just, well, sorry, you're on your own today. So that's why those aren't the best decisions. They are not. But what do? I mean, Jonah, I don't want to, argue or whatever.
No, I know you don't want to argue. I just, some of these businesses too, this is their livelihood. And, they're asking them to quarantine, and it's, why are they being treated differently? I mean, everything we have in Marion County, in my opinion, is essential. We don't have a life of luxury here.
Right, and I agree. I mean, and we are, okay, that is, I mean, I had this conversation with a business who had that concern. If one of their employees, and I stressed to them, then you need to do everything you can to protect your employees. Because a medical field, they have to treat those infected. They have to, and that's why they're asking their patients to wear a mask when you come into the building or the clinic or whatever. And so they're already putting those in place. And if businesses would, then they could call us and say, my customer had a mask on, I had a mask on, fine. Then maybe we could say, you're essential, stay to work until you're sick, and then if you get symptoms. In the healthcare system, most of the time, both people have had masks on So the risk is a little bit less.
So Deidre, I just want to say one thing, bouncing off of what Jonah said too, because I have another question, and that is deeming essential and not essential. And I understand the healthcare workers, I understand business owners, I also understand the family that has children to feed. And so when we start saying you're essential and you're not, and your family don't need to eat, but yet these people need to care for others, or whatever criteria that you're using to determine who's essential and who's not, and who can earn a living and be out in public and who cannot, is also very concerning to me. I think every single person, I'll say Marion County, but everywhere, that is out working, and they're all essential. I mean, whether it's just feeding your baby or opening your business doors so others can come in and feed theirs. I just don't understand where we get off saying you're needed and you're not. I just don't like that.
I think we are going by the state guidance. That's what KDHE, if you look on their public health management, it shows who is essential and non-essential, and it does say that both parties are wearing a mask. So I didn't make that rule. I am following it, so I guess if you have a problem, I mean, or concerns with that, maybe it's to talk to the legislation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that. I do understand that. And believe me, I am in contact with the legislation and stuff like that too. One of my questions is if an essential person who are put out of their jobs, if they could be exempt from paying their taxes. But the state don't want to hear that either. But whether you work or not, you still have to pay your taxes. So I'm done. I just see too many back and forth, too many inconsistencies. I mean, there's no real answer. It's all speculation, and I just question these things.
Commission, due to what we're charged to do here, we're charged to run a business and ensure we have elected people and stuff like that. But let's say 15 employees in the jail, 14 of them test, and the one says, no, we're gonna pull Diane and say, no, it's my right, and do this and all that. Where does the commission stand on that? Because if 14 out of them test and the one don't, and so the rest of the employees feel that they've done their job and that one employee don't. Where do we stand on that? I mean, Deidre, I'm again just hanging on here. Where does that fall when one don't, and yet maybe the commission or the county says we'll all test if you're employed?
I want to just touch on that because this is what I think should happen.
Okay.
When they hire on, they have a handbook, they have a compliance, and if they're out of compliance, then they're subject to disciplinary action, whether that's a suspension or whatever.
Okay.
If it's in the handbook.
Yeah. Okay. That's one part of it. But then what Deidre said a while ago was, let's say that the person that infected them, and it goes for a few days, then they go home, or they still work, or they go home and quarantine. Then when that person, then they have to wait a few days. What I'm getting at is that one employee could possibly be off 30, 40 days if the thing's drug out like Deidre was talking about a while
I see
ago.
a guy that just recovered after 102 days. So
yeah. So what I'm getting at is, where do we stand again on paying that person? Now, the 14-day quarantine is what we've heard that is paid for. And if they disobeyed, didn't follow the rules, I have a tendency to believe that then we're not entitled to pay them.
well, there would be no conclusive evidence that they have it, so therefore that policy probably doesn't fall into play.
Okay.
But no, it's a
Yeah.
valid question. You
Yeah.
ought to ask it.
Just
Well,
things that we need to cover.
And I think that's what we need to consult with Brad for too, what we can and can't mandate.
Right. Right.
I don't know if it's a legal question
I
or if
mean,
it's a rights question.
most of the people who don't want to get tested are okay with quarantining or, like Randy said, the extended period. You know, because it is explained to them that the scenarios.
And it's not only in that department, we got road and bridge, we've got ambulance, we've got other departments that's got a lot of employees. And I just think it's valid to where we sort of have a guidance plan to.
Well, we need to make sure that we're covered in the handbook.
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly where it belongs.
Yes.
That might take a review by our council
Yeah.
to make sure wording is correct in the handbook.
And does that handbook come in effect then in the middle of the stream or when you're hired?
It's when you're hired, and then
Well-
when you make any additions to the handbook, you have to present that to all your other employees. And then if they don't
And they
sign
have
it,
to
that could be
sign
an
off.
insubordination. They can choose to not work for you anymore.
Well, they could anyway,
Yeah.
under the right to work,
Right.
yes.
Okay, but somewhere we need to have it down.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, I want to jump back and get, you know, we kind of went around here a bit. I think, you know, it's very educational. We need to know these things in order to make an educated
Yeah.
decision. But, Deidre, when you brought up your personnel, that was your agenda item, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think we need to address that item since it did come up and we didn't really take any action. As far as my personal opinion on the PRN and the additional staff needed till the end of the year, that would be a question for the Spark team to present to us, a recommendation.
Wouldn't that just be turned in under
Yeah,
COVID?
Okay.
yes, I mean, that's a county decision, to be able to handle the health emergency, to be adequately staffed.
Yeah.
And, it would just be an expenditure that would be turned in.
Okay. Then, you know, I know
It'd
that.
be no different than
I know.
buying computers or anything else.
Right, but
So-
for this, the Spark team has to bring us recommendations on how to spend that money, right?
Right, but it
So
would be.
I guess my concern is, do my employee who doesn't get paid vacation, wants to plan a vacation, have a week off, what do we do for that week? I can't do the administration portion because I've got the WIC budget for the fiscal year 2021. I've got the quarterly reports that are due. Do we just say we won't have any reporting when she's off? We'll do investigations as try to get another county to help us out. I mean, I feel like she needs a vacation.
Yeah, Deidre, I wasn't heading in that direction. I was just wanting to make sure that the finances were covered.
So the way that I believe it would work, the recommendation, like the whole intent of that Spark money is to first take care of making sure that government's expenses are paid. And that will be a part of what this task force is responsible for. I would say that if they don't present that as a top priority, then that's, you know, I'm sure they will. And this wages for this particular thing are completely justified and covered by those funds. And if we need to staff it, that's a county decision. The Spark committee should be looking at any expenditures that have already, you know, been paid out to be reimbursed. You know, I don't know if they'll if there's a limit they're gonna recommend, but as far as I'm concerned, there shouldn't be a limit on the county because we're the ones that have to provide all of those services. And that's what the money's intended for. It's also intended to be shared as we can, but it's not, it's supposed to be the county first.
I'm just treading cautiously not to throw a
Yeah,
wrench.
well, I believe that is legitimate COVID expense, and irregardless, even if it doesn't become, I believe Deidre could probably handle that in her budget till the end of the year.
Dave?
Do we need to close administrative business and have the department head, since it's on the schedule? I mean, you need to go, you running both of them together?
They're,
Are you talking about
No, we're
closing
talking
the Board
about-
of
we're
Public
talking
Health?
about-
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then talk about the department heads, employees, to keep us legal.
we never convened as a, Board of Health.
That report, yeah, but
Generally, when you're receiving these updates, it's, I put it in that you're the Board of Health, and then you go into regular business.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's what Dave is asking.
kind of, I mean, just to keep us on track, and I think we've got enough information to move forward with Deidre's request too.
And we can,
Well, and this also affects the
Yeah.
Deidre's health officer, because having adequate staffing, so I don't think the topic is off.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we approve Deidre's request to hire 2 part-time people at the $20 to $25 an hour. That's what you requested, wasn't it, Deidre?
Yes.
till,
Till December 31st of 2020.
Or no longer than. Or no longer than.
Yeah,
She may not need them that long, but I'll second it.
they're part-time. Yeah.
a motion by Dave and a second by Diane. Any other discussion on the part-time staffing?
Will they both be PRNs?
I would think so.
Yes.
I mean, part-time. I don't know where you find a part-time other than PRA. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. 5-0. All right, Deidre, the other concern that you had was your staff that you currently have and wanting to address their wages, right?
Right, I need to, I had an email into Ashley and, see what her increase, if she got her year, 6 months and year. I do realize she is part-time, but I would like to increase her wage to 26. Right now, currently, her wage is $25.25. So that makes me think she never got the 6 month and a year, and I realize you don't do that for part-time people, so to speak, but she has really stepped up when she
And now
was
you're
needed
kind of getting
and
into,
continues
you're
to
kind of
do
getting
it.
into personnel
Working
performance. So,
weekends.
Yeah, we would need to talk about personal performance, in executive, if we were gonna go that route.
Okay,
So,
I can schedule that at a different time.
that would probably be best.
Okay.
So, is everybody, I know we can't know enough from people, but is everybody satisfied right now? Looks like consensus in the room is good.
I like the
Okay.
form.
I would just like to say, I was supposed to do my quarterly reporting, but maybe we could suspend that during the COVID time, since I'm kind of keeping you up to date anyway, because eventually I'll be tasked with an AAR, which will be required to be submitted to the state. And at that time, it'll be made available to the commission. That is, for those of you that don't know what an AAR is, that's an after-action report that through this whole COVID, at the end, we will have to complete one of those.
It does relate to COVID, I mean, so we need to address it.
I just with this times going up with 5 cases last week and 2 or 3 one other day, I just wanted to talk about COVID, you know, keep it in mind. I think that's our responsibility, whether we like what the rules are. Yeah, we've got a responsibility to the public, and so, and I'm not agree with all the rules, but it's still our responsibility. So I just want to have it on the agenda every week so we talk about it.
I think we need to be updated.
Yeah.
I think what he was asking is whether you want her to continue her regular quarterly health department updates during this time.
No, she's here every week. So.
Okay, because I do have that scheduled for next week. And, you know, I'm trying to continue to keep up with the state, you know, the quarterly reports, like I mentioned before, and then the WIC budget, I'm working on that. So next week, if I just do the COVID update, do I need to have that quarterly worked out for y'all?
No, but if you go off topic of COVID, it'll probably be best to have that included in the on the agenda.
Okay.
So if you were going to talk about something else, it just needs to be noted.
I kind of hate to get away from quarterly reports, just for the fact that, you know, and I understand the workload that Deidre has, but we might see other departments that say, well, maybe we should stop doing our quarterly reports for the balance of the year. I just think that we need to try to keep as much normalcy as we can.
I have to agree with you, Ken. I mean, we ask what people do, and that's how we know that.
Okay, I'll get something together.
Yeah, it don't have to be too detailed. We just got to know what's happening in your department.
Okay, I'll do that. Is there any other questions?
Okay. I think that's it. Thank you, Deidre.
Okay, thank you.
Get out of the COVID update and go to administrative business right quick.
In your packet, you just had information about the planning commission meeting being postponed. We also do have supplements and change orders. The supplements, you don't sign, but you do sign the change orders.
Supplements. Don't sign.
Right, those are, not, the tax roll for that hasn't been generated yet, so that is going to affect the value that was certified that we're working on with our budget. And then in November, when the taxes come out, then it become a change order if you have changes after that point. So those supplements do affect our value and what our tax roll will look like, but since it's not on billed taxes, there's no authorization there.
Basically, rather than a cash basis, we're looking at an accrual basis.
Yeah, this is just information so you can see changes to the value before November.
Yeah. That arrow gets up there and all of a sudden it pops up.
Salary sheets.
Yeah, I don't.
No salary sheets, okay. As everybody's reviewing, has everybody had a chance to approve, or to read the minutes?
Golf carts.
What?
Oh, golf carts. Yeah.
Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes of June 30th?
Make a motion to approve the June 30th minutes as written.
Second.
A motion by Kent, second by Randy. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Since I was late for an hour, do I need to, I mean, I was here all day.
You reviewed it on the video, didn't you?
What?
You talked about reviewing it on the video.
I did, I did it on the video, yes.
So I would feel
Well,
comfortable.
later, yes.
I would feel comfortable if you reviewed it and didn't see any.
Okay, then I'll approve.
5-0. Everybody had a chance to read the minutes for July 2nd. Any questions or concerns with those?
I'd make that motion to approve them.
Motion by Randy,
I'll second it.
second by Dave. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Everybody had a chance to read the minutes of July 6th. Any questions or concerns with those?
Make a motion to approve the July 6th minutes as written.
Kent approves minutes. I'll second that. All those, or any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Assuming it's 5-0.
Okay, so everyone voted 5-0.
Okay. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes of July 8th.
Make a motion to
We
approve.
read it on last week's log.
So, no discussion.
Do I have a second?
We have a
I'll
motion
second
by Randy, second by Dave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Okay, I will print those off and get your signature on them later. Have a chance to get them all.
He's been a
on.
bit busy.
I should be able to do that before the meeting's over. So, I did go back and look up the previous action regarding the legal assistant position. And, so it did say that we would develop a job description and potential salary range. And so the job description you approved, the salary range that they requested was the same as their other clerical person. And so I feel like that was very appropriate in pay band 5. They also have an office manager, which is in pay band 6. And so, and the salary sheet that I presented to you was the beginning of pay band 5. So it's the lowest level for the employee. And so I did include that in your packet. It was signed, but I held on to it, and it's not been signed by the department head yet. So if you want to take some official action to set that salary range in that pay band as a commission, or if you have something else you would want to do, then.
This is a salary change for Caitlin Christensen, the attorney's office, for $24.86 a month.
Right, so I guess maybe I would like to have some official approval of the actual pay scale and placing a position in the pay band 5. If the board is comfortable.
Say it's the same one as the other position.
Yes, it is. As the other clerical position, it is.
Okay. And yet the administrator's in pay band 6, the office administrator.
Yes.
I'd make that motion to approve it as a same pay band by as the other clerk.
I'll second
Randy, second by Dave. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
it.
Aye.
Okay.
5-0. Salary changes are already been.
So I will forward the salary change to the department head and finalize it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We had a resignation. Jason Gann has resigned from the Lehigh Township Board as Lehigh Township Treasurer. And so I did include a copy of that resignation in your packet. They have recommended Nathan Fish be selected. He is an eligible person to serve in that, based on his registered to vote in that area. And so that takes an official appointment by the board.
I'll make a motion to appoint Nathan Fish as the Lehigh Township Treasurer. Second by Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. 5-0.
Okay. Last week I had given you the Marion County Data Breach Incident Response Plan. This came from a template from K-Camp. I hadn't had legal review well, I did send it to them, but I had no comments at the time. And I have heard back from them, and it's kind of a basic plan. They didn't really have any issues with it. I did go ahead and we included a definition for before it just said PII with no definition, so now it says personal identifiable information on the first paragraph. And we did include basically at the bottom who the information security IT consists of, and also who the general counsel consists of.
And the notes at the bottom of all the pages basically say consultation with the legal.
Right.
That been done.
What's your question?
Has that been done? Has Brad been aware of this, read this?
Yes,
Okay.
he had it. Yes, he's had
Okay.
it. And the changes were made after a discussion with him.
And then, make a motion to approve the data breach incident response plan with the removal of the notes on the bottom of each page, since it's been done.
Second.
Second by Randy. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. 5-0.
Okay. In your packet, you have a resolution. Every year we adopt a resolution for the service fee for the solid waste assessment fee. This is what will be billed on the taxes to fund next year's budget for the transfer station. We did not make any changes from the previous year's resolution. The residential fee is listed at $100, and then the commercial fees are listed there with a minimum of $132, and then it goes up based on if they're generating in the amounts. And this would be resolution 2020-22.
Not too. We did up it last year to $100.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. That was gonna be my question. So I will make a motion to approve the re-implementation and new resolution 2020-22 as opposed to assessing the fee of solid waste. Second by Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mitch, I'm okay if we.
Yeah, please. Catch that on the way back. Something new to me. I like it, but I don't look over there.
Yeah.
You should just sign it like that. Look back 10 years when we voted.
The signature just says you were present.
Yeah, yeah,
Yea
that's
or
all it
nay,
says.
is what matters. All right, so it looks like we've got a pay estimate for the transfer station.
Yes, pay estimate number 5.
Amount of $280,006.58.
This is normal, this is normal pay. There's no changes.
Yeah, that's not a change order.
Yep.
This would be showing the 52% completion. Standard. There's only one signature here, so need a motion for the chairman to sign.
Make that motion for the chairman, just go ahead and sign the pay estimate.
And that includes to approve it and allow them checks.
Yeah, approve and sign.
I'll second it.
Motion by Randy, second by Ken, Dave. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
I have a little discussion.
Oh,
I think Randall Purdue needs to keep track of overruns. We already have some. We need to keep that in the back of our mind because that'll hit you between the eyes when this is completed.
yeah. And the change orders today are listed at the bottom 3 lines. I believe there's another one coming based on the electrical. It's got to do with the changeover, and what was put on the documents wasn't quite what was in the air, or something along those lines.
So we just have to eat that?
It is.
Keep in mind, it's gonna be a general fund expenditure at the end of it.
So, anyway, going back to the vote, as far as this pay application, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
Speaking out of court here, Jonah, but do you have, what Kent's related to, do we have any idea, is it gonna be bigger than one of these 20,000 or 26,000?
My initial first hearing of it was around the 10K mark.
Okay.
And that's not unheard of, because
No.
you're dealing with primary stuff, which is all specialty.
No, but in regards to Kent's question is, when we finish this, which could be,
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
could be finished this year,
Yeah.
and if we're looking at, if we get two more 20s, we're over 100.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so-
that was what we set back as our, and, yeah.
Yeah,
And we
so-
don't even have the change, in my opinion. They did the soil removal. Something's gotta come back.
Right. That's
Yeah.
all they have done.
Yeah.
So something's gotta come back, so there will be a change order to replace that fill. I mean, just, it's gotta be filled.
Right.
I think the field's been done.
Sorry.
They filled it this week.
Chairman, I have two, just a quick little request for the Spark Committee. There's 2 items. They had their first meeting and they are interested in having an accounting firm take care of the reporting portion. And they also would like to hire an administrative person to take notes and do the meeting notifications. And so just wanted to get, I have done some investigating on the, since it is an emergency situation and our timing is short, we are not required to do the RFP for the accounting, but the board should take an action to authorize them to hire someone, and then also with the part-time person. They would need some authorization to be able to do that. And they were looking at a $12 an hour position for that, is what was stated in their meeting, So one action would be to not to do an RFP and to allow the Spark Committee to seek a firm. If you want to include commission approval in that, that's fine. The other one is to have the authority to hire a part-time person. They would be an employee of the county, would run through our payroll, and then it would be a reimbursement from the Spark funds. And then they were looking for a computer for that person, but Lloyd is on that committee, and I just also agree that we probably have something that we can provide to them, that we wouldn't have to have them purchase anything for computer equipment for that part-time person.
Just discussion amongst the board. Is it our place to even give a possibility for a firm to be hired for audit?
It wouldn't be for the audit, it would be for the reporting.
Oh, reporting. Okay.
Or the actual administration of it. And I do know they do have a proposal from one firm,
okay,
or at least an idea. I don't know if it's an official proposal at this point. But we do not have to do the RFP. I initially thought we did, but because of the nature of the emergency and how quickly we have to do it, we do not have to do that.
Due to the time sensitive of COVID and this work as it relates to them, I would go ahead and make a motion that they not need to have RFPs through December 31st, 2020.
Second. Diane got it.
Second by Diane. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
The next motion I would say is I would approve the Spark Committee to hire a secretary administration person at $12 per hour, part-time, not to exceed the hours, so that they remain part-time.
Second on that.
Second by Randy. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Now, do you want to authorize them to choose a firm and present it back for your approval, or how do you want to do that? Or do you want to just?
I think I already know which direction it's gonna go. I've watched it.
I think they just need to move ahead.
If you're authorized, if you want them to just go ahead and be able to move forward, then that, I think you would need to authorize that through a separate motion. I know you authorize them we're not gonna do the RFP, but I think that if you want them to actually select someone, you would need to authorize that.
So would they authorize that, or would they bring a proposal?
Well, and that's what I'm asking you. It's your preference. I mean, you can either authorize them to go ahead and just move on, or you can ask them to bring back a recommendation to you for approval.
I think during the time crunch, we need to authorize them to move on, because it delayed it a week. You know, those reports are due, first reports are due the 15th.
Right.
Yeah, due to the sensitive nature of it, I would go ahead and make a motion to approve Scott Lloyd and his firm.
No, the committee has to choose.
We're just authorizing them to hire.
They're choosing the committee. We don't know who it is, do we?
Well-
We do. We do,
We do now.
yeah.
They did discuss in their meeting, a specific firm
Okay.
that they have had a soft quote from. I know that that firm sent out an actual proposal after the meeting, so they haven't seen that yet or haven't had any action on it, but,
I've seen something about a flat fee of $350. That's all I've seen.
no, not.
You're not gonna do anything for $350.
I think it's a filing fee.
I think we should give them the authorization to hire who they feel fits the need.
I mean, I can
I'll
tell you.
withdraw my
that-
motion.
Or give them a blank check, kind of.
Okay. I can, that was at public meeting and it, I will let you know, because I did hear part of that. The actual fee that, it wasn't $350, it was $35,000, a flat fee, not to exceed based on certain criteria. Now, this funding allows up to 5% for administrative,
Yeah.
and this is way less than 5%. And the idea behind it is that they may be assisting several counties, and so they would be able to streamline that process and do it for a lower fee than the, nowhere near the 5%.
Does this not fit into it? I'll read it afterward. I'm just making sure.
Oh, per hour.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I
Yeah.
thought you were saying a total of $350.
No.
So the $350 an hour would be the flat fee, and they consider that it'd probably be about 100 hours. I think that's kind of where they were coming from. But they will have an official proposal. The board can approve that if you want to do that, or authorize the committee. It doesn't matter to me.
Oh, yeah.
Just some conversation.
Yeah.
It is timely matter, let's get it done. We're not gonna sit and be Mother Hubbards over these people, where they're volunteers and they're wanting to move ahead, just let them do it.
Continue with your motion.
I'll make the motion that we allow the, what is the committee called? Sparks Committee to make the decision on hiring an accounting firm and a part-time employee.
We already did the part-time. Second. Got a second by Randy. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Hey, Tina, is there some way we could be notified when the meeting's also, we could also listen in?
Sure. The process is to just request a notification in writing, but,
Okay.
so just send me an email,
Do you,
I guess for right now, to me,
Okay.
until we know.
and you forward on to somebody?
Right now, we're helping facilitate the public meeting portion of it, and so, yes. Okay, I'm sorry, I had that after this list was ready, so.
From what I've seen, they're getting up to speed pretty quick, but it still doesn't hurt to help them. Tina's volunteered to help them get going.
Well, when we set up the meeting and started on their virtual meeting, they had a lot of questions, and so I ended up getting pulled in there a little bit, but on the pieces that it's natural for us to help on, I would, I want to help them move along,
Thank you.
so.
Yeah.
Sorry that took a little longer. I don't have anything else.
Okay. All right. Since we already discussed Deidre's personnel, we're gonna move on to the ambulance department.
She's individually that way. Tina doesn't have it touched 6 times before it gets to her.
You see me like using my hand sanitizer over here.
Okay.
Thanks, Charles.
Now we gotta trust you, huh?
Yeah, well, it's one versus the rest, right? Okay, so I've got a little report there. I know a while back, the question came up about ALS versus BLS, and I certainly I don't believe I can inform you of everything in a short amount of time, but I think if you look through this, we're talking about cardiac arrest, and what we're doing. Whether there's ALS there or not, it starts with BLS. That's early CPR, early defibrillation is key to that. ALS simply supplements that. It's the response that we as taxpayers pay for to have ALS respond. So you can look through there, the front page. We're talking about percentage of ROSC, return of spontaneous circulation. That does not necessarily mean they walk out of the hospital and go home to their family, but it does mean we got the heart to beat again, and we have the blood pressure, that kind of thing, and get them to definitive care, which isn't always the best outcome. So, and then you can go back the past couple of years and look at which units arrived. And so I just thought that'd be good information leading into one of the budgeted items was the Lucas device, and I want you guys to see that and see where we're at. I've got some numbers on that as well. The Lucas device is an automatic CPR device. It takes it out of our hands and puts it into a machine, battery operated. It does better compressions than any human can for a lot longer. We can move the patients without stopping CPR, things of that nature. So, it's a little brochure there you can look through, but
Have you personally seen them?
yes, I used one. Right before I came here, we were trying them out there, and they would have been purchased. But yeah, so I have used one, and it was successful in Ross. So I did get a quote for 2 of them, $29,505.88.
What was that again?
$29,505.88.
Just for 2 of them?
For 2 of them. I believe this is something that would be in addition to the monitors. We could start, obviously I'd like to have 5 or 6, but I think we gotta start somewhere. And we did budget $40,000 for these devices. So we're obviously under that, but.
Do they have anything that goes along with it to make the breathing more automated?
That's interesting that you asked that. It's to my knowledge, there's not a transport vent in the county. That's one thing with COVID that came up, was discussed a lot, was ventilators. I would like to think that that's maybe something we could do through Sparks, would be ventilators and IV pumps. They kind of tie in to cardiac arrest as well as COVID. If we're given an IV drip over an hour, we're trying to infuse a med, it's a lot more accurate to use a pump. So yeah, I think that's one thing that certainly would fit in the Spark side of the second wave, would be pumps and ventilators. So right now, if we take somebody to Wichita that's intubated, it really takes 2 people in the back. One's bagging the other, giving meds on the way down. We got to redose people depending on what med we put them down with. But so yeah, that's kind of that in a nutshell. I guess I'm asking for the approval to spend the budgeted money on the Lucas devices, and answer any questions I can on them. So
It'd be Marion and Hillsborough then?
that'd be correct. If you look, and Dave, that's kind of why I put that report. If you look in and obviously I got here in 2019, so I like to look at 2019 and so far in 2020. If you look at 2019, we had 13 cardiac arrests, and we put an ALS unit on scene 11 of those 13 times. There is, well, I say 11 times, there's actually 12. And then the one time looks like it was a Peabody call where they ended up turning the ALS unit around because they found a DNR. So, and then in 2020, we've had 5 cardiac arrests, and we had a second ALS unit five times. So as far as how we're doing on return of spontaneous circulation, probably right in that average range. This year we're at 80% so far, which is wonderful. That's an anomaly. Most places are going to be in the 40 to 50% range, and we're total since 2017 we're at 30%. So we're doing good, but yeah, I think the additional Lucas device is going to really drive that home for us. So
Automation ought to improve your percentages.
Absolutely, and like I said, I from everything I've seen and been around, I believe this would be a continuation. We would move forward getting more of these. I know there are some people that just because you live in Marion or Hillsborough, you get this and somebody else doesn't. It's unfortunate. That's not the way it's intended. But I want you to know that those ALS trucks are going. Since I've been here, they're going to get there too. And whether you're in Marion or Hillsborough, wherever those trucks happen to be with that on it, the first 4 to 6 minutes, that thing's not in place. We still have to do it by hand, get things set up. So we're really not that far behind by the time we get to another community. But I do believe that in the future we would want them everywhere. So
I would make a motion to approve Travis's budgeted item with Lucas with version 3 or 3.1?
3.
Version 3?
It's a Lucas 3 version 3.1.
Okay.
Yep.
Lucas 3 version 3.1 in the amount of 29, or two items in the amount of $29,505.88. A second by Ken. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Didn't write that one down.
You remembered that. That's very good.
How you gonna get them on the ambulance? You've got a lot of equipment already. Where's
They are a little bulky.
They look bulky.
But they come apart, Randy. I don't
Okay.
know how well
Okay, I mean,
it shows it in that picture. It doesn't show it well, but this piece is a base piece that we would put under the patient, and the
Right,
part slaps on top.
Right.
And then these fold into a carry case. And I apologize, I don't believe I brought a picture of the carry case, but a big backpack is about the size they
Okay.
are. I believe there's certainly room. And again, as we grow and develop, I think the supervisor type vehicle would be an excellent place for one. The Marion one or Hillsborough, wherever that position would end up. Just get there quicker to our outlying communities. So
just remember, if you've ever been in an ambulance, there's a lot of equipment in there, and we keep sticking more in it. Makes it tighter.
You're gonna have to get the white load sticker.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I know Randy, you asked earlier about COVID, and there was good discussion there about what we do within the department and the essentials, if you will, the medical personnel. We're transporting COVID patients, and what we do, we're gown, goggles, gloves, and masks, and we sanitize our ambulance afterwards, and then we go back to work and we check temperatures and we make sure we're asymptomatic. I have, when I get back to my office, I'm postponing any in-person hands-on training with the recent influx that we're doing. If I have people that are exposed to COVID pretty much daily that work for us. That's a reality, but again, they're doing what CDC says. If I were to expose our outlying trucks, if I were to expose a group of us and we were to 14-day quarantine, we'd be in a bad way. So we do have things in place that we can get online training, we can get our continuing ed, but I think to get a group of us together is probably ill-advised right now. So unless somebody else has some input in that, I want you to be informed that's kind of where we're headed.
If it was done some other way, then that's the way you should go.
Sure. Unless you have questions, comments, concerns, that's all I need. Okay.
Thank you and the people that work for you.
You bet. We got good people. So, all right, thank you.
Is Bryce on?
Yes, I'm here. A couple things for you. Obviously, I sent you an email last week. KDOT did approve our cost share amount for the Nighthawk Road reconstruction as well as Tampa. So based on that award, I would assume that we're going to proceed with the whole project, and I will hopefully get the bid documents out by the end of this week or Monday at the latest. So we can get that out there, at least get 2 weeks of bid on there, and then hopefully get it awarded by the last of July or the first week of August, so they can get started on that. So obviously Marion County got 2 projects. The city of Peabody as well as the school district got another project too. So it's pretty big kudos. The city of Marion did not get a project, but we felt good by that. So anyway, I will proceed with that, get that going.
I'd like to hear that one more time. I'm just not quite sure that I heard it correctly the first time. Please tell me again.
That we're gonna do this project, the full length of it as we had talked about before. And hopefully I can get all the bidding documents in by the end of the week or Monday at the latest.
Thank you, Bryce.
Yep. It's a good thing for Marion County as well as the people that drive on those roads, not only for access, but as well as safety. So be a good thing. The other thing was the 90th overlay from K-15 over to McPherson County is done. The edge wedge was done last week. I don't know how we can really do anything different than what we did unless we were to put another lift on there, but we obviously can't do that. So if the commission wants to go out and look at it or any particular one, I'm okay with offering an acceptance for that. We should be getting final quantities back to us this week. But again, that's up to you guys if you want to go out and make the drive across it or whatever else. We have received several excellent compliments for the people that drive it every day. It's so much better than what it was. So, any thoughts or?
I got guys that drive it every day and say it's phenomenal. So.
Yeah.
I attended a meeting Saturday morning at Gossel, and the locals that I usually visit with down there, they was at the sale that they was having, and I did not hear no complaints about any of them. The one that I started with 16 years ago, he still requested sand. He loves sand in that area, and I think most of them agreed. So if we continue with sand, thank you, Bryce.
Yep, okay. So again, does the commission have any objection if we go ahead with the
Cut out, Bryce.
What's that?
You cut out. Did you lean back?
Oh. I said, does the commission have any objection to accepting that project then?
No.
I drove it.
Good job.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
All right. Okay, and following up from last week on the request for more information, I've gone through the reports that we have in STARS, and nothing really gives me exactly what I think you're looking for. Just to follow up, you're looking basically for the tons of rock that have been hauled and the locations, as well as locations where we're reworking roads. Is that correct?
Yeah. And anything else that's going on, just a headline, not the detailed, I guess, unless each commissioner wants to know how many tons of rock per mile or something like that. I think that would be something we could ask you later, not in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'll probably develop some sort of spreadsheet then and take the information that I do have, because it's just, it's a proprietary system, and this lady that we've talked to about making different reports, she won't do it. So we're basically gonna have to use the information we have here and do that same report. Or do a report for you, but I don't have a problem with that.
Bryce, you might check with Morris County, because supposedly they utilize some piece of software that helps them with that.
All right. I'll get a hold of Jeff then and see what's going on.
And I say that about the tons of rock per mile, and that could be important, very important, if we're going out and checking, like the 2 miles you did on 30th, I just drove it yesterday, and, you know, see where you stopped and everything, but if you did 2 miles up north in Diane's area, and there was different tons per mile, we might have 2 different opinions of what's done, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So
Sure.
it may be important on that too, tons per mile.
Yeah, that's something, I'll look into that. But other than that, I didn't have anything unless you guys have any other questions or whatever.
So Bryce, I do have one question for you, and I was out driving around and I noticed that you did a rebuild, I think, on Alamo. 210 to 220, and I was looking at your sheet that you gave us for road rebuilds, and I didn't see that on there. Did I overlook that?
No, that was left over from last year before we did our plan. We redid 230th to 220th to 230th last year. Didn't get time to finish this off. Both of those were rebuilds of existing gravel roads. Based on the information that I received from all the guys out there, was the road was basically impassable during less than a half-inch rain. So that was the reason for the rebuild, and rebuild that existing road.
Right.
So is there other ones then that were left over from last year? Because I don't know. Is this the last leftover from that last year, or is there more?
I believe that's it.
Bryce, if I'm not mistaken, you made us aware of that last week, right?
What, about that road being rebuilt?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I did confirm all that information.
Yep.
I think it turned out real well for the guys that are working out there. We did get some big rock put down there before the rain, and it did allow it to be passable during that heavy rain last week. So, anything else?
And so, yeah, I do have one other road that I'd like you to look at. I had called it into you a couple months back, and that's Old Mill, right off of 330th South, about half a mile or so. An older man named Gary Spawn. I think I had sent you a text on his road, and he said you'd go look at it. I visited him this week and stuff, and he had some, was kind of disappointed that he didn't get any rock or anything on that road. Could you check that out again for me?
Yeah, I did not. I'll follow up with that. He just needed rock, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll
And
follow up.
when the road gets wet, I mean, when we get any rain or anything like that, it's just him and his wife, and they're relatively, well, they're elderly people. And so it is very difficult to get out. Now, when the road's dry, like I said, when the road's dry, you can drive across the field, that's okay, but when it does get wet, it's almost impossible to get out of that road.
Bryce, you'll check that out, right?
Bryce, this is Ken.
What's that?
Yeah. Hey Bryce, are you still on schedule to start a rebuild on Diamond?
Yes, we were going to try to start that this week.
Very good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Bryce. All right, Isaac. Oh, I think he's gonna be the person.
56.
Hello there.
Line and color.
Did you get those copies?
Yes. They all have them.
Have you had a chance to review them and find out who the current low bidder is?
Yes, and there was a couple of things I wanted to,
That are here first and don't have a clue what you're
Looking at roofing.
yes, and these are roofing bids from the hailstorm back in April. So this is nothing that we're doing new, it's just damage replacement. James with Cape Camp Insurance, he came out, oh man, it would have been a couple of months ago, and he looked at it, and pretty much everything with shingles was totaled, what he said. And so I've been working with Rhonda and an insurance company. We finally were able to get these bids in. we had Sunflower State exteriors, and on this bid here, what we had total was the house, which is shingled, the bathroom shower house right across from the office, which is shingled. We had 6 of the stone outhouse restrooms, and then the north shelter house, the east shelter house, and then the old trap shooting house there by the north shelter house. So there was a total of, I think, 11 buildings, all fairly small, but they were all total. So going off Sunflower's bid here, he has 2 different sheets here, one of them with all of the outhouse buildings, so like the shelter houses, restrooms, and the trap house. And it looks like the total there was $11,681.95. Plus, on the other sheet here, he has the house and the shower house, along with the guttering on those 2 buildings, which all of that combined come out to $23,485.13. The next bid we had was from Flory Roofing and Construction. Theirs is just pretty much laid out on one sheet, exactly the buildings that they did, for a total of $17,700. And then Eaton Roofing, there's a few things I have highlighted on that sheet. If you look at his total bid there, it was $41,211.43. When he got up on the roof, he noticed a few things that he had talked to me about that the other 2 did not bid on. And he said, I told him just to go ahead and leave them out. Well, he said he'd just put them on, and if we didn't want to count those in the bid, then we just didn't have to. But those 3 things were on the very top of the office, which has a metal tin roof. He has the gutters on there for $768.33. And then the 3rd row down, he has house exteriors for a total of $2,470. He noticed some siding damage that he believed was caused from the hailstorm, which the other 2 did not bid on. I hadn't noticed it, they didn't say anything about it, but he brought it up to me, and so he went ahead and put it on here. But that was at $2,470. And then 2 below that, it says hall gutters. It was the same thing, there were some hail damage on the gutters on the hall, which was not originally bidded because the roof of the hall's tin, and it had a few dents in it, but like they all said, it's still fine, it didn't need to be replaced. So those 3 things, if you took those off of the bid, it would come out to $36,150.05. So those were the 3 bids that we brought in for that job. I believe Flory Roofing was the last company to shingle all those buildings, and that would have been, the majority of them got done, I think it was like 10 years ago, when they were last done. The bathhouse I don't think had ever been done since it was built. They have those organic shingles on them, and all 3 of these companies say they don't even make those anymore. And so I think it was time that they needed to be replaced. But that's what we had there for those 3.
What's your recommendation?
Flory came in at the lowest bid, and he did it the last time, and you know, it all turned out really good. And they gave me a sheet with different shingle options. Pretty much what I told him is probably just stick to the same, get all the buildings done the exact same. But he's the lowest bidder, and they've done a lot of work out at the lake on other homes and everything, and all 3 of them I have complete confidence in. But yeah, Flory came in at the lowest, and I feel confident in that.
That their numbers would be off. by enough to not keep them from being low, but I didn't see anything in guttering where the other two did.
Right, and so the guttering was included for Flory, but just the shower house and the actual house. So as far as the hall and the office, that was not included on here.
So
and
between Sunflower and Flory, pretty comparable.
yes.
Okay. Well, if it's your recommendation to go with Flory, I will go ahead and make that motion to approve Flory Roofing and Construction in the amount of $17,700. Second by Ken. Any other discussion?
What about the house that's Terry? Are you gonna have that a separate claim? Or?
Well, and that was something, Eaton was the last bid to come in, and he gave that bid to me last Friday. And so I had not spoke to the other two.
The K-Camp?
Yes, I haven't spoke, because James, when he came out, he did not mention anything about it. And the other two, when they came out, they didn't mention anything about it, and he brought it up. He said he believes it's from the hailstorm. Since then, I had not talked to K-Camp, or I have not talked to the other two bidders on that siding.
Yeah, I had siding and window damage from the hailstorm. So yes, it is a real possibility. And
Okay.
you probably should have it looked at by K-Camp probably.
Okay.
And so I have another question for you.
Yes.
On the Sunflower, I noticed that he writes in writing, there's a limited lifetime warranty on materials workmanship of 2 years, and I don't see any type of warranty at all on Flurry. Did he give you an express warranty, or is there anything else maybe? Or maybe I'm overlooking it. I don't see any written labor workmanship warranty on it at all.
Let me see.
I'm just wondering. I'm sure the quality of the workmanship is fine, but
Yeah,
nice
well,
to have it in writing.
Yes, and now that you say that, there's nothing in this pamphlet he gave me. Either, I know the shingles were a 30-year warranty, and it looks like Eaton Roofing and Exteriors, down on the left-hand side, he has the same thing, lifetime shingle warranty and a 2-year workmanship. But yeah, I do not see any kind of warranty on here as far as Flory goes.
Yeah.
You might just follow.
And I can call, yeah, I was gonna say, I can definitely call him as soon as I'm out of here and ask him on that, and see.
Could we ask to buy shingles locally?
Yes, well, and I know, and,
It's gonna be hard for him to stay in his price if he's getting quality price, or
yes,
pricing from someone to
Yes.
make this bid. So his bid numbers.
If it's feasible, fine.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people, shingles local, that helps our sales tax.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I just, if
Well,
they're,
you could call
if
them
they're
out.
committing to a price, it's really hard for them to.
Would ask, I would approve that, but
No, I always encourage them to do that.
Yeah, I think probably if you were going to require it or ask them, you would have needed to have been stated when, at the time they did
Yeah.
the bid. And the sales tax, they will not have sales tax because it will do a project exemption. They will not, because we're tax exempt, it will not
okay,
add to the sales
okay.
tax. So, I think whatever one they approve, we'll need to contact, you'll need to contact our office to get a project sales tax exemption
Okay.
for the contractor.
okay.
I guess I'm still comfortable with my motion. Ken's second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
And I also wanted to let you guys know the work truck, the patrol truck, was in Arlie's last week. They didn't quite get it finished, so I'm taking it back as soon as I'm done here. And they're supposed to have that finished up by the end of this week, as far as the hail damage goes as well. And I think that'll be the last of what we had out at the county lake.
Your truck or?
Yeah, mine.
Yeah.
The other one was thankfully in the shop, so
Okay.
it didn't get anything, but the patrol truck did. The next thing I had, which kind of goes on with everything surrounding this COVID-19, the lake hall, we have opened that back up. We have been getting people coming out there and coming in. With the mask order kind of being where it's at, kind of leaving it up to businesses, I did not know if that was something that the county wanted us to have people wear if they are in that lake hall, in a space with a, you know, if there's enough people that can't keep their 6-foot distance, if that's something we want to ask of people, or just, as of now, I haven't. We've just kind of let, if they want to wear a mask in there, they can. If not, they don't have to. That's kind of how we've been doing it. I just want to make sure that the board is aware and see if they had any other preferences or recommendations for us to do according to that.
Wouldn't our group number be up to 45 allowed in that half of it?
What was it, 50?
40 to 50? Both.
Occupancy?
For a side?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, per side, it's like 57.
Right.
So, and that's how we have it set up with tables and chairs right now. But that being said, if the way we have it laid out, if those chairs are all full, then there isn't that 6-foot distance. But they can rearrange that hall however they want to when they go in to use it. And I will say the majority of people have, since they've been going in there, since we've opened it back up. Every time you go in there, you know, the tables and stuff are separated, which we had never really seen before. But we've just been kind of letting people make that call however they feel.
We put, besides giving them the guidelines when they rent it, we keep them posted on the doors and all that.
As far as
Guidelines for use, you know, it's just the social distancing.
Yes, we do. I don't have anything put in the lake hall, but we do have everything at the office, and when people rent that, we give them a copy of it, yes. Yes.
Might not hurt to post it on the
Yeah,
doors.
well, now that you say that, we definitely can do that.
You can also use a standard admonition for that purpose. I've got one that I've written for other entities where it's public use that we can put on the door that's shorter, but encourages that they follow the CDC guidelines, et cetera. It's not any mandate. Obviously, we're not in that position, but it does put everyone on notice, and it's a good reminder.
Okay. I guess any recommendation by you as far as the waiver?
We can, I've done it. Utilized one, I just created one for another local city for the 4th of July celebration. We want to have some type of a waiver. You're undertaking at your own risk. It really says it in that notice that I will send you that we put on the door anyway, but if you want to go that extra mile, we can do that. Nothing wrong with it.
Wouldn't hurt.
We have no mass numbers. Under the policy we're under, we're not under, we have no mass numbers?
No.
Okay.
People that are in there wouldn't have them on a fourth of the time anyway if they're eating.
Which is normally what people do in there. Yeah.
If we're gonna do a waiver, that's supposed to take an action, but that's not hearing a motion, so.
We offer us, council's drafted.
Can we just bring it back?
Get a consensus at least on that. Okay. Consensus of the board is to have a waiver drafted.
And now would that be something that everybody that uses the hall would have to sign, or just the person renting the hall would have to sign?
The one that I have,
Nice question.
it is set up for everyone who engaged in the activity.
Okay.
I can alter it to just be the person renting, but they're not going to be able to sign off and indemnify for everybody that shows up.
Right.
So it would have to be something that would be available for those folks using it to sign, and maybe something to consider when you look at
Wouldn't do
it.
any good unless everybody's on
Yeah.
it.
So,
Would it be better just to put a sign that say by entering you're waivering?
That's what I use, that's kind of the belt and suspenders part of it.
Yeah.
That's posted on the door.
I think that'd be, yeah, a lot,
Yeah, I
The
was
other
gonna
ones
say,
are really cumbersome.
yeah, I'd have to have a lot of copies
Yeah.
if we wanted everybody to sign,
Well,
but it's something we could do, yeah, yeah.
So a posted notice of a waiver to be drafted by.
I'll do that.
Good luck.
I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit confused how that's different than this room. And,
It shouldn't, I mean,
Um,
it shouldn't be.
that's all. Because we have other facilities that people utilize, the public utilizes. And so if you're gonna do it there, do we need to?
No reason why we wouldn't do it everywhere.
That's
It's,
what that was just a little bit confusing to me, why we would do something different with his building.
I've drafted one that's utilized that way.
Well, I think as long as we're going down this personal responsibility route, we should post it everywhere that it's your personal responsibility. You enter, you don't go hire and Brett.
Makes sense.
The next thing that I had, the lake, we've been under a blue-green algae warning now for 3 weeks, I believe. This will be our 3rd week under the warning status. It has been very different this year. Opposed to past years, KDHE has actually only came out and tested one time, and that was for 4th of July weekend. They went and I think they hit about every lake in Kansas before the 4th of July weekend, just so everybody can have an idea. But besides that, what they've been doing is we've been having to do the jar test, just go and dip it in. There's a sample site that KDHE has us use. Go and fill the jar up, let it settle, send a picture of that into KDHE along with a visual report form. They ask us to take pictures in certain areas around the lake and let them know the weather conditions and everything when we did the testing, and then we submit that to them. They send us a report back. When they came out for the 4th of July to do our testing out of the lake, the toxin level was actually 0. It wasn't toxic. The bloom was not active or anything, but our cell count with those blue-green algae cells is high enough. It warrants a warning status, because if it were to bloom, it could get bad in a hurry. And since they only test once a week, or have us do that visual report form once a week, we're sitting at the warning status, because if we submit that on a Tuesday and it decides to bloom on a Friday, it could be bad before they're able to get that report for the next week. So the toxin level right now, the lake actually looks pretty good. It got pretty nasty here 3 weeks ago, but it looks pretty good right now. And like I said, this is the 2nd week now. The toxin level's been pretty much at 0, but that cell count is high enough that we're still under the warning. We've been doing that every Tuesday, and we've been getting those results back every Thursday. So yeah, this will be our 3rd week now. Swimming area's been shut down, but as far as boating and those other activities, it has been open. Same goes for fishing. And then the next thing I have, I've brought this up a couple of times regarding the public docks. I've had more and more dock owner concern on this. I'm guessing it started and they've been talking about it. I think I've talked with you too, Brad, about this, is liability. Whether it's damage or personal injury, which I think we've decided personal injury would be the county's responsibility. According to the regulations booklet here, what it says is, as far as damage goes, that all damage would go to the user that caused the damage to the dock. And so what was brought up there was majority of the time something like this happens, nobody knows who did it. And so if that is the case, then what? You know, I know a few of the dock owners have their docks insured on homeowners insurance. I spoke to a couple of them about that they can just submit a claim and take care of it that way. But if they don't, then what? And the other question now that has been brought up, which is, you know, I've been here for 3 years, never had any question or concern about this at all, is that the docks are open to the public to use if the owner is not there. And this summer, I've had a few dock owners that have come to me and said that in the past, if you, let's say we have somebody from Hillsborough that comes out with their boat, they don't own a dock, they tie their boat up to the dock for the day when they're using it. Well, now I'm having dock owners say that that was never allowed, that they couldn't tie their boat up to the dock if it was not their dock. They had to have permission from the dock owner to use their dock to tie up boats. And from this, it just says that, it doesn't say that you can tie up boats, but it doesn't say you can't, it just says that it's open to the public. And so that was something I wanted to get, because they said supposedly before that they were not allowed to do that. And I've been allowing it because from my understanding from this, they're open to the public.
Yes.
And so that was something I wanted to get clarification on, just so I make sure I'm saying the right thing, because it doesn't specify in this book. It just says that they're open to the public, but it doesn't say, I guess, to what extent. And I'm, you know, it's kind of a weird thing, because our lake, we're pretty unique, as in we're a county lake with county regulations. We have private docks on it that are open to the public, and we're also a state lake, which makes all that stuff accessible to the public. And so I just want, you know, what I'm trying to get done, and I've been talking to a lot of dock owners about this, is, and Brad, I'm probably gonna have to work with you on this, is get a sheet or some kind of dock owner agreement form that has all this stuff written out that I can get them to sign and I can sign, and so we make sure that everybody is on the same page. I don't know, it just seems like more and more questions regarding these docks are coming up every week. And I would just like to get something, because right now there's absolutely nothing that I have found that is in writing as far as those docks go, any kind of waivers or anything. And I think it would be beneficial to both me and the dock owners, and probably the county, if we could get something in writing, some kind of agreement, so everybody is on the same page, and if there's any questions that get brought up in regards to this, we can just go back to that and say, this is the agreement right here.
I think, I'm gonna go back to Dale Snelling's days. And he told me as a teenager that the docks are there for everybody to use. And it's kind of first come, first served. But if the owner comes, you have to be respectful.
Yes.
And leave quietly.
Yes, correct.
But that's been the rules.
Yes.
I know 60 years. So.
That's second to most today, and that's.
It's just been customary. It has not been written, but.
Right.
Maybe it needs to be written that.
Okay.
And then, you know, you're supposed to clean up your mess and.
Yes.
You know.
Right.
Treat it like your own, but.
Right.
Leave it like you found it.
Yes.
Don't tear it up and, but it's been first come, first served.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you and me come to the same dock and you want it, and I got there first, well, I get it that
right.
day.
Correct.
Even though you don't own it, I mean.
Right.
I've been involved in that sometimes. Somebody said, well, I always use this dock. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got here first today.
Yes.
So, Isaac, you know, work with Brad, and come up with some sort of written
Tradition.
Yeah, to keep it
Well, and
the way it's always been.
okay, and that, you know, like I said, I've been here for 3 years. I didn't have any concern about boaters tying up to it until this year, and so I don't know, you know, what it was, but
Are they leaving the not open?
No, and that's the thing. If it's not yours, pretty much, if you can't bring a boat out there and tie it up, if that's not your dock and you do not have permission, if you are not there.
Right.
But as long as you are out there for the day using that, then
So if the owner shows up, they can untie.
yeah, correct, right. And it's not, the owner's not gonna have to try to find out whose boat it is that's been sitting there for 3 days. As long as the people are out there using it, then we've been allowing them to tie up to the docks that are not in use. And I just wanted, because like I said, I had it brought up that in the past they hadn't, and I was not aware of that. And so I just wanted to double check with you guys, because yeah, I went through this booklet with the dock owner, and it just says that they're open to the public, and that was it. And so I just wanted to clarify that.
I would imagine, Isaac, that what I see, and I've been out there 34 years, taking care of, working out there, and I see so many different people coming in and buying docks and changing docks and turnover. So I just would imagine a turnover is there that's, you know, people, owners, and they don't know, they probably just bought the dock, they didn't understand the rules when they got it.
Yes.
So, yeah. That's what you're dealing with, I think.
Probably.
Yeah, there's no legal title or paperwork goes with the dock.
Yeah, right.
And
We have
you are limited the number of dock spaces. Is there a rule? You don't have so many docks on the lake?
yes, and
Okay.
yes, and right now, yeah, there's that limit there, and pretty much the procedure that we go through is when somebody sells it, they come into the office and say, hey, I'm gonna sell this to so-and-so. Then they both come into the office and we get their names and addresses and contact information all switched over from one over to the next, and that's the extent of it.
Okay.
They probably should pay property tax on it. You know, it should be reported to the tax roll. Well, I'm paying for my golf cart.
Just a sign of the times. What worked for 50 years now doesn't.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. So, is there any other? You're on the docks, yeah. Anything else, Isaac?
The last thing that I have is the heated dock. So that would have been the 13th of June. I went down to Keachai and spoke with Ben. He had mentioned that all the framework and everything he had complete. He mentioned those dock floats being closed, that company being closed that he ordered from. I had asked him to maybe try to look elsewhere. I spoke to Ben again on Saturday, this past Saturday, because I have personally called 3 or 4 different dock companies, and it seems like all of them are open. And so I spoke to Ben on Saturday about this, and he told me that the company that he had bought these from is not open, which I had previously spoke to them and they were not. And he said that he can't switch companies, and they are still closed down. He told me that he plans on sending the commission a letter explaining everything as far as why this is being strung out as it has. I don't know, it seems like something, I don't know.
Well, what's happened is he paid them and they're closed.
Yes, well, and
We may never get our floats.
and well, and that is kind of what I'm, I guess, getting at.
It doesn't make any sense if they've been closed all this time.
And there's others that are open, and that's the frustrating part to me.
Well, we need to we need to have a discussion about some liquidated damages or something to encourage, let's get the show on the road.
Yes.
Do we need to buy our own floats and take it off the bill?
Well, and I don't know what the procedure is for this, but it does seem like things are very behind what they should be.
Brad's gonna have to write him a letter.
Well, we can probably wait on his letter if he said he was gonna send one.
He said he's sending it this week. I spoke to him on Saturday. So, and what is in that letter, I'm not sure.
You better be waiting too long.
Well, and
This thing's drug out way too long already.
yes, I mean, I'm sure you guys have gotten phone calls, but I get people every day. And, you know, at first, I kind of understood it, but the fact that it's now July, and this was originally supposed to be.
Tried to call that company?
Have I?
Yeah.
I did at one point, but this was back in, you know, when everything had first taken off, and they were shut down.
You might try to call them again.
And I can do that.
And then if they do open, they're probably so backlogged.
Well, and that's the other
There's
thing.
something stinky here. Hate to say it, something going on.
Yeah. So,
He took it a little bit.
no.
It wasn't.
We didn't.
It wasn't the low
No,
bid.
this guy with the floats.
Oh, yeah, no, that very well could be, yeah.
We didn't.
Probably local.
What about Florida?
Chair, since you're running pretty far behind, is it, we had initially had asked Gloria with Sked to be on like at noon and just go through lunch, but is it okay? I mean, are you planning to maybe have her do the Sked, the CDBG application review at 1 o'clock instead? I mean,
Yeah,
maybe I should let her
that would be
know.
best at this point.
Okay, I'll have the staff contact her. Thank you.
Anything else?
That is it for me.
You might ask him to send us pictures of what he's done.
Okay, and
He said he's done all this stuff, but we haven't seen any pictures.
I have,
Oh, you have, okay.
I do have them,
Okay.
and I can send those over to
Okay,
all
that's
of you
fine.
guys.
If you,
Yes.
if you have them, that's fine.
Yes.
Don't worry about them.
So, with that, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to Nancy.
We have,
Thank you, Isaac.
What, Randy?
do we have, Sharon, all the Hughes and all them scheduled to be here down 11?
He's here too.
Yeah. So
He's here.
I'll move quickly on this.
I would, not to, Nancy, not to want to cut you, but we got some people here, and I'd like to make it, get to
Well,
your point.
I have a medical condition, I'll just have to reschedule, I guess. because-
Well, I'm saying, not cut you, I'd take a few minutes to listen to what she has.
I was
Just-
told to be here at 10:30
Yeah.
and.
That's what I'm saying, that's what I'm saying,
My
I'd like
doctor
to.
said not to be in glaring light and my eyes are beginning to hurt, so
Okay.
it's either now or
Yeah.
reschedule.
Could you,
Do it 10 minutes?
yeah, is it a 10-minute item or is it a?
No, well, there were 2 parts. Can I come back next week and do the second part? And I can do it in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
So she's gonna need to.
I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to be organized here.
Nancy, you're gonna have to sit at that.
Yeah, I
mic.
know, I have to reorganize. I have 2 different folders, so, okay, I'll save this for next week. Gotta move this so I don't have that glare.
Need to the right side?
Yeah,
That would
it's
help, I guess. I don't know, it's kind of the right room.
Are they in
Oh,
section?
that's.
Thank you. Okay, the first part, which I'll save for next week, is about genealogy and the cemeteries around the county. Now, I went ahead and made one for the old county graveyard. And I think there needs to be 2 signs. Now, later on, my language was pretty strong. While I was waiting, I made copies of this. I just wanted to read you excerpts because it's obsolete now. It's typed a year ago. And only the first part's relevant. I'll just let you pass it around.
That's good. Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, I'm qualified to speak on sociology and anthropology. Here's my university certificate. I've taught college, I've taught high school, I've taught English, social studies, and was a Brown Mackey counselor for a couple of years, career counselor. So Not only that, I'm an independent researcher. I observe society, it's just my nature. I found as a child that this world was very scary, and there were very bad people here. So, wait a minute, I'm still missing some papers here.
These here.
I do not trust people. I was an abused child. There's lots of abuse in this world. Not only the blacks, but there's abused housewives, abused children. Those who come from good families don't understand this dark side of life. There's wars that kill people and murders. Yes, this is negative. But I'm being negative on purpose because I want to scare you. Statistically, 1 out of 1,000 people are murderers or are very violent, maybe more. On the other hand, the human race is paradoxical. 1% out of 100, the people are very, very good. You know, they're saintly, like Father Capon, very saintly. I met saintly people. My husband was a saint. He was very good. He helped me overcome my abuse and hurts. I grew up in Wichita, went to WSU. We lived in College Hill in a very big, nice house. Because my husband was very highly respected, had his own business. And I'll just read you what I have here. No, this is actually for next week. I'm a little nervous, sorry. So I'll just get to the point then. I worked with the blacks at the Wichita Public Schools. I found the black girls to be more of a challenge than the black boys. Until I got to be age 50, the black boys would always ask me out on dates in high school. I said no, of course. The Hispanics was just the reverse. The girls were super good, but the Hispanic boys were a little wild and a little disciplined. They wanted power struggle, you know, macho and chauvinist. I worked with the Orientals, just a mix. That's what's in Wichita. And at North High, I don't want to be racist, but when I was attending North High, that beautiful school by the river with Indian carvings, good school. There's 1% black. Then as I taught, I saw the black population go up and up and up until now my high school is 40% black, 40% white, and 20% Hispanic and Oriental. What I fear, as you watch the news, which I think Diane Novak is right, media is scaring us. A lot of it's propaganda and exaggerated. It's designed to program us. But the blacks are, there's different kinds of blacks. I worked with wonderful black people, teachers, educators.
Hey, we're gonna have to.
Okay, well, the point is, I don't want to be racist, but there's different factions of blacks, and I'm afraid that the blacks are going to come to that graveyard and hang a little white boy. Because the story is that we hung a little white boy, a little black boy from the tree.
Yeah.
That's the story that's going around. And they are taking revenge, and sometimes they don't think clearly. So I'm warning you.
Yeah.
You need to get a sign out there explaining that black boy grave before something terrible happens.
Right. I think.
Or remove the tombstone and write and make unknown person.
All right.
Should have been in the first place.
I'm gonna have to end this. I personally, I believe that best way to not call attention to it is not to call attention to it.
Word spreads. This,
It will now. So, I'm just gonna
my
have to
informer
end this
lives in
because
Newton.
it is not a clear reflection of who we are.
no, not in Marion, but what you don't understand is that cemetery, that graveyard is very popular. Just last night, there were people there. They come, it's in the travel books. That grave is so famous. A lot of people go there to look at it.
And it is a history of ours, and I don't see it
Unfortunately,
needing to,
it is.
it doesn't need to change. It is something to
It's
identify
it's
a
your
person,
wisdom.
a soul that
Yeah.
happened in the past, and it should remain.
Then the Negro word is offense to the blacks. And they've taken books out of the libraries, like Huckleberry Finn, because any book that had Negro in it, it's been removed. And hopefully, that happened in the 80s. Hopefully, they revised it and put the book back on the shelf. They take a high offense to Negro, very high. To them, that's a slang. You don't say that word.
So I'm going to, I can see where your point is. I'm wanting to preserve our heritage, and I appreciate that, or our monuments, and I'm gonna have to end it there. No, I'm
Did
gonna
you
have
see
to
the
end it.
news? They're tearing down the statue.
I'm gonna have to end it.
Okay. Any questions?
So, go on to planning and zoning with Sharon.
You got some paper on your chair there too.
Thank you. And we do have freedom of speech here, so thank you for letting me express my concerns.
Load you up.
Thank you, Nancy. Good to see you again.
Put one over your arm and then
Okay,
you
thank
can
you.
hang on to everything.
Okay, and I suggest you make a larger sign explaining the truth about the Negro boy, which was a man, not a boy, okay?
No taking.
All right, bye.
They're sitting out there.
Yeah. I hate to do that. It's just-
Don't bother me either way.
Where would you like us?
You get the hot seat.
Yes.
Okay.
You need to move that. And then the little bit, it's- that one.
She wants to move closer, farther away from him.
Sorry, I can. No, that's
No,
not
it's
what
not.
I this way? No, I just meant that if there wasn't enough room to sit down, you could move that table because
Yeah,
somebody
okay.
just moved it. Okay.
You're fine. Don't cough. You're fine.
It's up to you. Morning, Pat.
Morning.
And Sharon.
Morning.
So.
Would you like to proceed this morning?
I would say probably the initial element of this is an executive session to clarify some things, and then come back out.
Okay.
Public portion.
So I guess I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss item number 2, consultation with our attorney-client privilege. For a matter of
Half hour.
a half hour. Open back up the meeting at noon.
Is this for potential litigation or
Use it that
contract
way.
negotiation or what is it?
I think that potential litigation is fine.
Potential litigation.
Okay.
Okay, I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss item number 2, consultation with our attorney potential litigation for a matter of 30 minutes to resume the meeting, the open meeting at noon, with the board, Brad, Sharon, and Pat Hughes, pursuant to KSA 75-4319B.
Second.
Second by Randy. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 5-0. Okay, we will resume the meeting the open meeting at 12 o'clock.
Okay, we will start back up at 12.
That one's on.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Out of executive session, no action taken. At this time, I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss item number 2 with consultation with our attorney-client privilege for potential litigation for a matter of 10 minutes.
Does anybody else have some questions? I can see somebody else has questions.
Better do 20.
20 minutes to resume back at 12:22 with the board, Brad, Sharon, and Pat, pursuant to KSA 75-4319B.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Okay, so we will be back at 12:22.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, out of executive session, no action taken. This time I'd like to direct the staff to formulate a procedural outline of steps to review CUP for possible suspension or revocation, in addition to assess and recommendation drawing on security due to the RMA, as applies to the RMA, assess and recommend filing action to enforce the road maintenance agreement.
Second. Is it stated right?
Directive.
Rick, last one, you are assessing and recommending, you said going straight to filing, you're talking about reviewing the process.
Right. Assess and recommend their recommendation.
So was that a motion to direct staff?
Doesn't need to be a motion. I will make it as a motion.
I was just wondering, since you had a second.
I will make it as a motion. And I will accept the second from Diane. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Okay, after that, I will make a motion to retain Pat for the issues as it applies to planning and zoning and developing the items that I just directed staff to do that.
Second.
Second with Diane. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Make a show now.
Thanks, Pat. I'll get a hold of you, Pat.
Okay, great.
So, my next item, we had to push back to 1. Do we want to go ahead, commission want to go ahead and do public comments now? And commission comments? Or do we want to recess? I don't have any public comments, but I figured there was a few commission comments.
Yeah, you done with public?
I don't have any public comments. Remember, the public has not come back in. So, and I have none on the chat box. Do you? Sometimes you
No.
don't log in quickly. I don't catch the ones prior.
Does anyone on the electronic meeting have a public comment to submit?
If you just type a letter and hit enter, we'll know that we're waiting on you. Okay. Doesn't take that long to type the letter A and hit enter, so.
Commission comments.
Commission comments, moving on to commission comments. Close public comment.
I have one that we need to address, and that is, we have a lot of elected departments, and we have hired department heads. And when they have something that is pretty important to the public, and that we, the commission, will get questioned about, I would sure like to have some better, I don't care if it's a text, if it's a email, they've done their job, whether I read the email or not, but they've done their job. Just give us a heads up that we don't need to know all the facts, that something's happened. A jailer in the jail, I'd like to know that from my department heads before I hear it from the press when they call us and ask. And
or just at least something's happened.
Something's happening somehow. And with that being said, how about to remind all of the elected and all the department heads so the commission knows something, maybe we have them bring their paychecks right here and come and get their paychecks here at the end of the month. Then they'll know that we would like to know what's going on in their department. I'm taking that a little extreme, but I hope they realize we want to be with them, we want to know what they're doing so we can help them. And being knowledgeable of what goes on outside of our world. And I know they don't have time to do it that day, maybe, but the next day. Thank you.
No, I would totally agree. It'd be nice to have just even a simple text that something's coming down the pipe, and to be ready to check your email. Something.
Yeah.
At least something to tell the public, because, you know, we're pretty uninformed when it comes to some of this.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to depend on Tina to keep us informed all the time.
Right.
So we'll get that memo out.
She has as these days go by, she's gonna have less and less time to keep us informed.
And that's what I'm worried about. I just,
She does a very good job of it.
Yes.
we're all here to work together, and I think they forgot who they really top line, top sets up here to work for.
So, the other thing is, we may have tiptoed, oh, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna ask, do you want that in a memo form? I know Tina probably will ask, or at least usually does a good job of doing that, because if you do, then I'm gonna put some admonitions in there, since they don't deal with that all the time, about avoiding serial communication and not requesting responses and that kind of thing that could turn us into a violation.
Well, that's cool, yeah, I love that.
Whatever. And I think our biggest concern is we're not looking at our computers all the time to see an email pop through, nor do we have county phones and want to, you know, get our private stuff wrapped up with the county, so
Right.
we don't see those notifications. So,
And if there needs to be a set policy somehow to do this, yeah, I mean, that's fine.
the other thing is I would bring up, and we kind of addressed this already first thing this morning, but I'm sure you all, as well as I have gotten a lot of questions about the masks and changing your opinion, or please stay with the mask. And honestly, I've had a lot more people call that don't want the masks. I've had a lot more of them. But us doing our job, we should at least have a discussion about it. I don't know. I still feel like it's personal responsibility. It is, you wear the mask if you choose to wear the mask. And I also feel that until we can substitute quarantines with a mask, I can't buy into them 100%. I mean, that's going to be the end all, fix all.
My approach to it hasn't changed. I mean, we made a recommendation that people wear it. I'm not even against saying it, highly recommended, but I'm still not for favor of mandate.
But I still want, no matter what we do with that, to know what's going on in our county with its numbers and things like that.
Right, because the county is a total misconception of how many active cases we are. When you look at all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah, and that's partly because KDHE, our local staff is actually telling us how many active cases there are.
Right. But people are looking up that, I don't guess there's anything we can do with KDHE, because that's statewide.
Nothing we can do with KDADs either. I've heard upset people about loved ones in nursing homes not being able to go in, and they're chewing on me, and I got nothing to do with KDADs.
There are some options being made. I know Parkside has built a some type of little enclosed thing where you can meet with a loved one by appointment one time a week. Now, there's still a shield between, but it's far more personal.
That's good. Yeah.
And so I agree with you. As I mean, tons of phone calls, and the majority of them are opposed to the mask in my district. Plus, with me campaigning this past week and so on, talking to people, same response. That's the majority of the people. But I did want to make one other clarification for the sake of the press, and that is when I was talking earlier, when Deidre was talking about the tracking of people, I just want to make very clear my position on that, because I know that the county right next to us over here to the west, but I forgot what it was also. Yeah, McPherson County. They do, when people get COVID or something, they'll ask them, have you been in large crowds lately or something like that? Now that's different for me to say, hey, I was at the grocery store, I was at the hardware store. That's different. But now that we're implementing, or the state or whoever she was saying is implementing an actual tracking system on people. See, I just seem to think now we're really on a slippery slope there, and I do consider that to be kind of surveillance. And that is another part of losing our rights. And so that's where I said that, because once you implement an actual tracking system, that's scary business. And so I just wanted to make it very clear to commission where I was drawing the line. Not that I'm saying I'm opposed to people saying that they were in crowds. I think that would be appropriate and the right thing to do. But I'm not in favor whatsoever of a tracking system of the whereabouts of the people at all, for any reason, you know, than criminals, crimes, you know, when you're looking for an escaped convict or something. But
I
just want to clarify that.
I'm struggling to stay on board with the house arrest. I
Yeah.
am.
We really have to be careful.
Because
what we do.
quarantine is when you are known to be sick.
And essential and non-essential employees. That's a
And,
misnomer.
I don't know how accurate the number is, but I heard that the numbers on tuberculosis were sky high last year. And no masks were ever a thought or talked about. So.
And has anybody really done some research and study on the mask, like I was talking about the touching? See, I never did. Now I know that she mentioned it several times, but when you actually study it and you get into how contaminated some of these masks get within a couple hours from all the touching and all the things that are in the carcinogens and things that are even in the air, and then we're wearing them. I mean, I'm just now starting to get into that, but it's kind of eye-opening as well.
There's a lot of information out there about some secondary infections that people have been getting off of their mask.
Yeah, and I'm worried a little bit about this too, and it's not that I'm just against the mask. I'm not. I'm just nobody's stopping to think about physical health. Nobody's talking about long-term health problems that may be caused from this. And you know, the long-term problems are the ones that are going to break us, that we keep paying for year after year because somebody developed something from a knee-jerk reaction. I just really want to evaluate all the data. So I'm not trying to just impose my will. I'm trying to take it all in. And I voluntarily wear the mask and know that
That's your freedom.
I know that I'm putting a risk on myself, maybe, potentially, but if I can make other people feel better, I'm okay with that.
I have this feeling this weekend, invited to a swim team meeting. Very fun go to, yeah. Well,
Is there some sarcasm in there?
Yeah, but.
Kind of like wrestling.
Yeah, but you go, and all of a sudden, you're within 50 foot of 100 people. They're standing outside the fence. That's all in a line. That south wind's blowing right through you. They're not wearing masks. You saw a few, I saw probably 10 to 15% wearing masks. But the most majority was open. How does that make you feel nowadays compared to what you felt before? You never even thought of it before. And now you think of it no matter where you're at. You do, you think of it, so, yeah.
Well, yeah, and when you walk past, I don't know if you guys do it, I do it. When I walk past somebody, I control my breathing. I don't know why, you know, but I do. I shut it down.
You're just holding your breath so you hope they don't say something.
Thanks. I'm smiling underneath this, just so you know. All right, well, I just thought we needed to have a discussion about it because I know the phone call volume is up, so. And it sounds like nobody's really changed in their positions.
I think it's just a personal preference, and you know, people who call me are against it, but they're who are expected to call. I mean, I could tell you who's going to call me about it because they're the ones that complain.
Well,
the people wearing masks aren't going to complain. They're just going to go ahead and do it and go on with life. It's the same old thing, the squeaky wheel. And the people who don't want it are the ones that squeak it.
I think the big issue in this county, as anywhere else, is we need to encourage our school administrators to get our kids back in school.
Yes.
Whatever that takes.
Yeah.
There's going to be some long-term effects from this on our school kids.
I agree.
And I don't necessarily know that it's the squeaky wheels, because I've got some phone calls from people I don't know, that I really personally have not met, but they were out calling everybody. So I disagree with the point that it's a squeaky wheel. I think it's just that people are realizing how far this could go. Because I could bring up some points to where it could go down a path that nobody will be happy with.
Yeah.
And I think people are starting to pay attention to this.
You could all of a sudden see burkas everywhere.
Yeah, and not only that, I'm gonna sue you because you breathed on me, now I got COVID. I mean, on and on and on and on, and somebody dies. Now you could be held for what? Involuntary manslaughter. I mean, your imagination is the limit as to what could happen with this. I mean, it's crazy, but look at what's happening on the news today. Isn't that crazy? It's just scary to me that we need to be very careful not to give up our freedoms, as little as it sounds.
Oh, it's a
Whatever happened
slippery
to
slope.
Whatever happened to the land of the free and the home of the brave, and I, as a citizen, take responsibility.
Yeah, I don't know. So, I wanted to say one other thing from a text message that I got from somebody. I don't even know this person, but,
Didn't sign it.
huh?
They didn't sign it.
No, I've been getting some of them too. I've been getting random phone numbers.
Yeah,
Just
I've
thank
never,
yous.
I've never met this person, but he just sent me a text. And I just thought, wow, that's pretty good. And he said that when Hitler was up in front of the German people shouting his party line, it would have been good if somebody would have thought to interrupt him. Okay, so he had read the Free Press about me interrupting, and so he was just saying, wouldn't it have been nice if somebody would have interrupted him? I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, but if you think about it, it's kind of cool.
I don't know.
Are we just killing time, or what are we doing?
Well, sort of.
Okay, I didn't know if you
we
adjourned.
gotta be back at 1.
Yeah, did you adjourn for 15 minutes, or this?
Yeah, we could take a break for 15 minutes, or we would need to recess.
It to be so obvious.
As long as you just take a break.
Recess for 20, because I guess we got.
Got 19 minutes to get back.
Yeah.
We should adjourn, reconvene at 5 till, because the gals.
Let's just recess for 15 minutes. Just call it good. And Tina can go by whatever clock she's going by. Because there seems to be some differences.
Yeah, I think that one is actually losing time, yeah. So maybe it needs a new battery.
Needs a new battery.
Because the computer clock says 12:44.
So, hearing nobody opposing, I'm gonna go ahead and call it recess.
Okay, it's a recess for how many?
15 minutes.
So Brad, did you ever get a hold of Nathan back on the 501c3? I need to do that.
You know where we on the list, though?
Okay.
Said I'd try to reach him
Good bird.
middle of the week.
Motion and dollar amount.
Okay. Why don't you do this for me? Because I just.
Oh, Mike.
Cindy,
Should've had
do
you bring
wanna-
hamburgers.
I'll go ahead and put that in it for you.
And we ain't got any.
Nobody got any hamburger?
Might not be, I don't know.
Are you open?
Assuming I leave now.
A little while, yeah, that's what we got it.
Give you the.
What do you mean for a little while?
Yeah, maybe.
Sashno Schmidt. That's it.
Don't say it too fast.
Yeah, that's tough. Right here in the middle of your deal. Right under TC's Whatnot Shop.
And that's the corporate names.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that we have sound on here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. We'll owe you one.
I'm here after 1 o'clock.
Okay. So, out of recess. We have a list of applications here.
So Gloria was trying to speak earlier. Can you see, Jonah, if she can hear you?
Looking for
She's not.
Caller 2
caller 2.
is just unmuted now.
Right, I just unmuted it, but can you, she wasn't hearing me when I was speaking.
No, she wasn't.
Lori?
Hello?
Hello?
This is Gloria.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you can't hear me.
No, we can hear
We can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
We just turned you on.
We've been hearing it.
Okay.
Last 10 minutes.
Maybe I'm unplugged. I think I was turned off here at the microphone. So Gloria, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so what the commissioners have right now is the list that you sent to us. And we just need to be careful in the public meeting that we don't go into any specific financials of any business or anything like that, and just keep it general conversation.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Looks like you have 10 that are already approved.
Yes, attentively, yes. Several of them marked SBA on their applications, and I'm not 100% sure. My understanding of the rules is that if they've gotten some other loan or grant, that they still can apply for this program and get money. It's just, it has to be the receipts or invoices they send in will have to be in a different time frame in which they received other funds. So I really kind of have to talk to them individually because they gave me no information, just marked SBA. I'm assuming, and there's many types of SBA things you could get.
Yeah. Well, I think.
But otherwise, they should qualify, yes.
What specifications we put on it was the SBA IDL, the idle loan.
Yeah, there was a disaster one someone marked too. I think, I don't know what they are. I'd have to clarify with each person what that was about. And the time frame in which they received it in.
So with our, our funds available, what was our maximum, 5,005 and under? Are all these companies,
5 and 10.
Are all these companies under the 5 threshold?
No,
Okay.
no, several of them are not.
Okay, which?
Well, let me see, I got them here, I see this. I didn't put them in that sort of order. I didn't know you wanted it that way, so.
Well, I think we have to determine how much funding we have and how that spreads, so.
Okay.
Is that what she does? Didn't she do it?
I think that what you had on the list for today with our application that we sent out was that you would review anything that needs to be reviewed or clarify things, score anything that needs to be scored, and that the awards would be on the 20th.
Yeah.
So I think that if there are specific questions that need to be answered by the commission, we could do that. If Gloria needs to be able to contact individual applicants, she should be able to do that, you know, prior to a decision on the awards or an announcement of the awards.
Okay. So all these that are denied need to be notified still, because they don't know?
No, nobody's been informed of anything.
Okay.
Right, so this is just very preliminary. She's looked everything over, and this is what she initially thinks as far as who's meeting criteria and who potentially is not, what businesses.
I see one on here, the Christine Fleming is, the address is Newton, but it's actually a Gossel resident, outside of Gossel would be.
They have a new.
Christine, what's her name?
Yeah, I know there's a few properties around Gossel.
Rural
that are-
out Newton comes up in Marion County.
Yeah, but it actually is.
But they live in Chisholm.
Chisholm.
Where they live, north of 90th.
Yep, right by the Tabor Church.
So they are in your county then?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I questioned that, marked that one, because I wasn't sure. Okay, that's good to know. And as you can see, the simple denial ones that I have put on there, farmers cannot apply for the program. There's a program through USDA Rural Development they can apply through, but they cannot apply through this. Farmers cannot.
And that was guidance that initially we were told they could, and then
They were initially, yeah.
Yeah, and then further guidance came out later that said no, they can't.
So agriculture period,
Yeah.
or was there a caveat of agriculture that was still allowed?
Gloria, did you hear his question?
No, I did not.
I said, so agriculture period is marked off of this, or is there a caveat that we just need to be more specific to?
Which one is that?
On agriculture, because in the beginning we were told agriculture worked, so we went around and we told a bunch of people. So is there just a special caveat to agriculture that we were encompassing as the whole agriculture industry?
My understanding, I did see in the original information they said that farmers were allowed, but then with further investigation, I guess, they realized that there's a grant out there through USDA Rural Development they can get.
Okay.
So that's why they took them off there as something, no, so we can't not apply for it on this program. But they can go through USDA Rural Development, there's a grant out there through them.
So with these that have been approved, how much money have we already potentially expended? I mean, that we can still maybe go out and talk to some of the people in our business, in our districts, or what? Is there still room for more if they're not agricultural?
I think that what you're gonna have to do is allow her to ask any clarifying questions she has today, and then she'll have to, before next week, go through and figure amounts and which ones are qualified, and then we can provide you that information next week. Because what you said when you opened the grant application was that if any funding was left, there could potentially be a second round of applicants. So.
Okay.
You should have that next week, I would think.
And I was trying to read through some of the information you have here. What are you allowing? I thought it was 5,000 for 1 to 5 business and 10,000 for 6 to 50 employees, right?
That's
You're still
correct.
on that. Okay. Okay. So most of them are 5,000, but there's a few in there that are, quite a few more employees. So, yeah, I'll have a better number. I can tell you more next Monday. Clear that all up.
I had a question, Gloria. There's 3 businesses on here that I've been in contact with, and all they have is contract employees. So, it says needs employee certification from or employee certification form from the employees. But what if they're just contract labor?
Well,
And I think I know.
contract. Yeah, I don't know the answer to contract labor. They're so not actually. They just hire different people all the time. When you say that, right? I'm not really sure. I know
they're not actual employees. A lot of businesses do that. I mean, it's easier for them if somebody's building. If they have a business and they contract with somebody to build something for them, then they're a contract employer, contract laborer. So there isn't any.
Well, I'll confirm it, but I'm assuming it would have to be based solely on them then, and they did not fill out an employee certification form for themselves either.
Okay.
So I would need to see that then.
Yeah, because I didn't consider anybody with contract labor, because the way I read the IRS books, that's entirely different than an employee, the way it's treated all the way around.
Right, so it's going to be based off of their income and whether or not solely. There's like a lot of them are just like a beauty shop, and it's just the employee or the owner.
Right.
So it's just based off the owner. So I would assume they fall in the same category.
So in that case, they just have to submit their own income information?
I don't really need their income if they need to mark a box on the form, yeah. where their
Okay,
income
so
comes
if-
in at, yes.
If they're operating as a LLC, do they have to submit, what do they have to submit?
Sounds like they just have to check a box.
Yeah, there's the employee certification form, they would have to fill it out. A lot of people did do that with your applications, most of them did, there's just a few that didn't.
So just a
That
few that
they're
we need to, a few that we need to
only
follow
individual.
up with, right?
Pardon me?
Not her too.
So just a few that we would need to have you follow up with.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So let's get on the way. I would entertain a motion to allow her to follow
Well,
up.
I don't know if you need a motion for that. I think
That's
this is
what we
just an
hired her for.
update. And Gloria, did you have questions of the board that you need clarification on?
Well, no, I don't think so necessarily. I did have one applicant that marked city as a form of other funds. Do you know what that would have been? Anybody? It was,
City may be somebody that's on a like a city councilman or
So-
something like that.
No, state your question.
oh, but they
again.
marked it as a something that it was, list any of the other funding they may have received, and they marked city. And it's Marion or Florence. I don't know, the home address is Florence. It's the second one
Oh,
on
I
here.
see which one you're talking
The
about.
dry cleaner.
Oh,
They live
Yeah.
in Florence,
yeah, but
The
what
business
you
is in
saying, they
Marion.
may have received some funding from the city?
not from Florence. I wouldn't
No,
have thought.
from Marion.
Or did they not mark down their city?
Well, they say the business is, the project business is in Marion.
Yes, it is. Their home address is 313 West 4th in Florence.
Right, that's their home address, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So what do you need to know from them?
They marked city, and I guess I could just call them and ask them where they received funds, what funds they received from the city. Maybe they misunderstood the question, I don't know.
I think they did, probably.
Yeah.
I think simple
I
phone
just
call.
thought if anybody knew about,
They hadn't received anything as of, 2 weeks ago.
Nobody's received anything yet.
I haven't heard of any of the cities of giving any money out to any
Well,
businesses.
I've not heard that the city had any
No.
to give out, so.
right, I just wanted, and to clarify that once we approve all this and who you choose to give the funds to or whatever, they do have to, and I'll tell everybody that as I speak to them, they must provide receipts and, or invoices for the funds they want to receive. Because those have to be sent in with our, I was telling Sherry that too, they have to be sent in with the cash request when we draw the money.
How about,
So-
how about verification of a name of a business? How do you verify that?
Oh, the name of the company is what they are?
Yeah. Mhm.
There's no process for that that I'm aware of. I'm assuming that the cities or counties would know these businesses.
Well.
I don't know,
That's the reason why,
honestly.
that's the reason why I'm questioning one, and I'm just wondering how your verification policy is, because nobody knows it.
Which one is that?
And number 11, that should be the Convert, right?
Oh, well, that's just their,
Oh, number
that
11
would
is
just be
the,
their corporation.
It's a corporation name.
That's yours.
It'll be incorporated.
Okay, well, that's,
Operating
They
in.
probably would have a DBA as, or doing business as.
okay, well, that's what I was asking more or less, is just how they was verifying it, because that's not what we, sitting here knowing as. Yeah.
I guess we would solely rely on the cities or the counties to know who these people are.
Yeah.
Before they gave them out. I mean,
Correct.
I wouldn't know any way of knowing, but
Well, going through the list, I don't recognize any that I don't know of. I
Correct.
mean, when I cross the name
Yeah.
or the address, they
So-
all seem to be legitimate.
Are you following up on the ones that need the employee certification?
yes, I'm going to, yes. I will call them and have them, I'll have them fill them out, get them into me.
Yeah, because I know the one individual I talked to that said she had just contract employees, she was pretty confused about, I guess, what she needed to submit.
Yeah, when I talked to her, I just said get the application in before the 13th, so.
235 South Washington and Burns. You know that?
Okay, yeah, that's, I think that's the residence address.
Residence
Yes,
address,
I know
okay.
what business that
Okay,
is.
okay. I just didn't know the address didn't match up with.
Yeah, I think that what a lot of them have done, they have mailing addresses, which are their residences.
Residence
And so
address,
that's
okay.
what their, it's not maybe their location is their
Right,
address.
right.
The only other one I really had a question was the traveling retailer. And I do have to add, because she doesn't have a place of business in a town or city that I'm aware of, correct? You know this person or this organization?
Yeah, that would be,
Where's that?
be rural route.
Yeah, 77. Yeah. Oh, well, no, not 77. What is it? Can't remember which one she was.
Traveling research.
Wouldn't that just be a home-based
Yeah, it's,
business that, because I think that business you're talking
I don't know
about,
what-
they do a lot of, like, they go around to
different
shows. And with all the shows canceled, then they,
Yeah.
Which one was that?
I think she's talking about that rural route one. That's,
Let me find her here quick because she had called me about it and I didn't really, retail.
I do know that.
And I told her just to turn her app in because I wasn't sure at the time, but,
I know that she
and it
does
may be an
shows
issue or not.
around here, so.
Traveling retailer, yeah, it's rural route, you're right.
Yeah.
Christine Fleming.
I can see one that says rural road.
that's the company name on the
That's the one
left
that's got
side.
the question with Newton. Right here.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
I just can't, oh, okay, yeah, right.
So,
Yeah, that'd be a rural road.
but yeah, I do know that one.
What does she sell?
Antiques.
Arts and crafts, antiques,
Does she have like a van or something? I've never.
trailer.
Oh, really?
But-
Weekend shows, probably.
Should be at the Arts and Crafts Fair if they have it,
Oh.
so.
Is that a business or a hobby or?
It's a business.
It is a
They was in
business?
they was in the store at Peabody for a
They
while.
pay taxes. and
They're out
stuff.
of it now.
Sales taxes.
Do we have to provide?
I only question it because there's no local address attached to it. And I know she travels to Oklahoma and various places.
Yeah.
I'll just confirm it with Kansas Department of Commerce. If they're good with it, I'm good with it, so.
Okay. Yeah, and then that mailing address will say Newton, just a lot of those residences out there do. We just had that one on the tax sale not too long ago, it dropped off, but it was actually north of Gossel, it was in Newton.
Where would the, in case somebody, I seen one that didn't get in on this that was asking about it, where would they put their name in now to?
They cut off this.
Application's been cut off.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying if we do have another round.
That would be the same, if you do another round, which it looks like you'll probably have some funds to be able to do another round, then they would apply back the same way that, we did the initial round.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be correct, Gloria?
Right, you would do it the same way the second time around, and I would certainly think that you will probably still have more funds even once you approve what we all agree on next week.
Okay.
So then is custom ag an approved business for this?
Pardon me?
Custom agriculture. he's talking
Custom
about-
agriculture, is that an approved business?
Where's that?
It's the.
Yeah.
Number 14, Darren.
Halfway down.
Oh, the one that's,
Oh, that's the question mark there.
Yeah, it's got a.
yeah, it has an agriculture business, but that doesn't, I don't think he sells, do you know who he is or what he does? I'm assuming he does sell something for, I don't think he's a farmer,
And you know,
so.
Yeah, that's Yeah, I do.
Custom
They are.
silage, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They are farmers.
Do they do a?
Oh, they are farmers.
Yeah,
They
they
do
are.
custom.
And they do
custom
repair work, and they do all kind, they have a repair shop.
So do they have separate
Yeah, they have several
companies?
different, yes, they
Okay.
do. Yeah, 'cause he has a shop and they do repair work on, farm equipment, and they have their own equipment.
Is that the
and
one
on,
just north
is it
of?
Lost Springs?
Is it Lost Springs or is it north of?
Yeah.
77.
Yeah, it's in Lost Springs, yes.
Okay.
So you need more detail on that one, is that what you need?
Right, he definitely would have to, if you're the repair shop, that certainly would qualify.
Okay,
It's just the actual farming part wouldn't be part of it,
Okay.
as long as it's separate things.
okay,
Just an
But I can call him, or
agricultural
if you can
farming.
get any more information, that'd be great.
okay. Okay.
So most of them that I have any deal with is some of these people I've told that that agriculture was okay, and I need to go back and talk to them and tell them
They changed the rules.
to change the
Yep.
rules on us. But to tell them that the USDA rural development has something.
Right, and I'm not real familiar what it is exactly, but I certainly can find out for you if you'd like. I mean, so that you can give them better information on where they're supposed to go or apply for something if they wanted to.
Farm Service Agency.
I mean, I would assume that next week, once we go through the list again, then we would send out approval letters. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, I
Or
think
denial letters?
we could do that, yes, once we have, you have whatever clarification you need, and you would say, according to what my process has been, it appears that these are the qualified businesses, this is the amount, and then they could take action to approve those awards, and then we would send letters out.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Is that a husband and wife that down in Hillsborough, 101 North Main, 102 North Ave?
Yeah, but they operate them all as separate LLCs.
Okay.
It's Dunnigan.
And the one is also, used to be a partnership, so it was different share splits.
Working the system.
Well, if you got 3 different businesses and you got a partner here that isn't the same partner over there,
Okay.
you know, this partner shouldn't be entitled to those proceeds.
Working the system.
Yeah. So, other than, we don't really need to do anything. We just-
No, I don't think you need to do anything today, and really it was more just as a kind of a check-in, I think, and to make sure that everybody, you know, especially Gloria, if she had any questions, that she knows what to do.
Is there any questions that you could ask us, that would just take some of that load off of you that would, I suppose you need to go back and check with all these people.
That's really what I need to do at this point, yes,
Okay.
is get the employee certification forms, and I'll have I'll update the whole list next Monday before the meeting and show who's truly approved and the dollar amount.
Okay.
Right, and that would be who would be recommended for approval, and then the board would take action, is that right?
Right, that's how, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Any other discussion on this?
So if they received any of the first loans, they didn't get none of this? Is that?
Well, they're saying that
It's a point
if you
system.
got a loan from any of the other programs, that you can't apply for this one. You just have to be applying for, like, let's say you got payroll the first time around, you couldn't apply for payroll again for the same month. You'd have to have different dates and maybe even a different item like inventory or something else that they need now.
Right, you just can't duplicate benefits.
Right, you just can't duplicate.
So you can't get reimbursed twice
Done
for
on
the
point-
same
on
expense.
Points too.
Right, same expense you did the first time.
Okay.
You're just looking at the one, that was when you were drawn to? or-
Yeah.
And on your application, you had kind of a point system, Randy?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so if they had received
Yep.
other funding, then they got less points than.
Right, right.
Of course, if you don't have as many applicants, then you may not have to go to that point system, since you have plenty of funding to take care of all these requests that are eligible. But on your round two, you may end up having to go to that point system.
We can
If
only-
you get more requests than you have funds.
Since we set it
We can
up,
only do 20 loans anyway, 5,000 apiece.
well, that takes you 100,000.
Yeah, we have 117.
117.
Right.
So unless there's some 75 in there, was it 75 or 10? On 10 or 5 or more, or 6 or more. What was that number?
10,000.
10,000.
But they don't have to get what they ask for.
Right.
We can-
Right, that's the maximum.
Yeah, we can give everybody 4,000 if we want to, make it go farther, help more people.
That's true, but you already sent your letter, the letter stated 5,000, did it not?
Well, it did.
That's the max.
Yeah, it stated that as the maximum.
Oh, as a maximum, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you could do that if you wanted to, yeah.
So,
Yeah, the idea is to want to help as many people as possible. Not just a select few.
yeah.
Right, so next week I would anticipate that Gloria would have a list of those recommended for approval, the amount they applied for. The board can approve those amounts, or if you wanted to change the amounts, up away from the maximum. Some of them may not have even applied for the full maximum. So you would approve, take your action on what you're awarding next week.
So, did I hear you correctly? We could change the maximum. We could elevate the maximum, okay.
No.
We
No.
can lower it.
We could lower it.
No,
Lower it.
what Dave was talking about is, we set that as a maximum grant. You can award less
Yeah,
than the maximum,
Yeah, I
if you
got-
choose to.
I got that.
Yeah. I don't think he's suggesting changing the maximum
No,
or.
well, we can help 25 people instead of 22, if it comes down to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Depends on how many people
I
approved.
followed that. And what threw me off was changing the maximum.
No.
So I was like,
The government set that, that's.
no, we said
No, we
that.
said that.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay.
The government's is much higher. Actually, a business of 1 to 5 can get, I think, $25,000,
Yes.
and then I think 30 for
Yeah.
over that, so.
We didn't have that much money.
I'm gonna next week change approval to qualified, maybe that makes more sense in your world.
Yes, that's good.
Cause you guys approve it, I'm just saying they're qualified.
Okay,
So I'll change it to that,
very good.
okay?
I'm glad to see the numbers were higher than I initially thought they would be, so.
We got a whole bunch, 9 more apps that, on Friday, I think, that Sherry had sent over, so they all came in on 9 more on Friday, so.
I had a few people call me and say that they weren't gonna do it. And I said, just turn it in.
Yeah.
So. Alrighty, well, thank you.
All right, well, thank you, and I will talk to everybody next week then, Monday.
Yes.
Yep,
All right, thank you.
alright, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So, that being the last item, going to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Diane?
Yes, aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Why would I ever go against that?
I always
I'm okay.
want to make sure you get counted, though.
Just take a few
Thank
busy
you.
reading.
I was busy reading, I'm sorry.
How's the world out there?
We gotta do 2, 3 things at one time.
Okay.
How is what?
The world, is that what you're checking?
I suppose it's doing okay.